This is episode 63 of Some of the Insight, and this show, as ever, is sponsored by Alpha Draft, which is a company which pays me and Monte to talk about League of Legends, but at no point in time will they ever come in and tell us like how to talk about it, or decide to change the production value of what we're talking about, or maybe just start a show where like we talk about League of Legends like a few days a week, and then they just cut off and have another few people who weren't doing it before just start doing it. And basically like that's something I really appreciate and value in a partner, you know, someone to work with it within the industry, knowing that they're looking out for my best interests as well, you know. So this is episode 63. If you want to play fantasy esports, and at this point in time, fantasy League of Legends is where it's at, guys. Like in that world, you don't have like the depression and sort of like overwhelming sense of dread that every single time you open Reddit and see a roster move, you know. So in that world, you can put whatever team you want together and just go about your business, you know. So I enjoy it myself. For me, fantasy is where it's at, Monty. I've retreated from the real world itself, actually, become an aesthete in some ways, you know. So if you want to play something like League of Legends, you can do so at alphadraft.com. Now then, this is episode 63, and as ever, I'm joined by my regular co-host, Monte Cristo. Funny story for everyone, you probably think you know the origin, but actually he got his name from a sandwich, because he's a big fan of culinary arts, you know. And I once said to him, like, naively when I first met him, like, did you ever read that book? And he goes, why the fuck would I read a book about a sandwich? And anyway, we got off to the truth is finally coming out. Got off to a great start to our relationship. And then obviously we're joined by DoA here, who works with Monte on the broadcast. But again, funny story, not a lot of people know this origin story. He actually took his name from a video game in the mid-2000s where he was really enamored by the way that they created this special novelty gimmick in the game, where it was a fighting game and there was some female characters where they put a lot of effort into 3D animating their breast movements, and they said it was realistic, but actually I think they bounced a bit more than they do in real life from my own investigations. But I know that he was such a huge fan of it and fan of the game, that's actually where he took his name from, because he wanted it to be a loving tribute to the game which sired his name, right? It was something like that. Yeah. Well, I played a lot of volleyball in junior high, so it was natural, you know, to just kind of continue it into the Xbox version with my favorite fighting game characters. You know something, DoA? People think to themselves, like, that men are very sexist, you know. I mean, for example, if you ever have a discussion with me about the fact that women's tennis players make exactly the same prize money as men's tennis players, I have many arguments as to why I think it's ridiculous. It's actually contemptuous of like the concept of, you know, physical athletic sports and you know, embracing greatness. But I'll tell you something, DoA, I just don't have a lot of time for men's volleyball. I don't know what it is, you know. There's something about the female form and the beauty of motion within that sport that I prefer the women's version. So I'm kind of a contrarian even to myself, DoA, you know. What's it all about? See that. I mean, I wanted to play soccer, but it was too tiring, so I just played volleyball. Because in my other time I was playing Magic the Gathering at recess, you know, so that was about it. Between Magic the Gathering and volleyball, who's got time for soccer? That's where I've always Exactly. So, okay, for this episode, we're going to do it a little bit differently than usual. So the first part, we will cover like topical stuff, events that have gone on recently, some roster moves. But one of the concepts was we wanted to have DoA on for a while, but I was thinking, how would we structure that particular show? Because obviously, on other episodes, we either have like one region where someone's going to go super in depth on that, or the person tries to give their perspective on like another region, and then you see relative to whatever their knowledge is, what it's going to be like. So I thought, obviously, with the timing of this news recently about what's going on with OGN, that this will be a great chance to have a commemorative episode where we all appreciate and nostalgically look back on the good times we had with OGN, before it was gradually turned into something that, well, I won't spoil the end of the movie for everyone. I think Monte kills himself at the end, but he's alive with us now. He's still with us now.
That's not to say that anything is going to happen to
Who said?
OGN's broadcast.
Who would say such a thing?
It's all fine. We're all fine here. How are you?
I just see myself as sort of an esports Cassandra, you know, Monte. I just see the future. But the key is that I'm not believed. That's the key thing.
You do know what happens at the end of the story to Cassandra, right?
Mate, it's not going to be a good ending for any of us, put it that way. Okay?
I'm just glad to finally be here as the guy whose job is to just simply agree with everything Monte says and not have any opinions of his own. It's nice to finally be able to do that in a more public capacity. So I'm ready to agree with you.
I mean, maybe because DoA's sort of a bit player within this part of the story, Monty, maybe he represents the Aeneas character who actually does get away from Troy, and he actually goes on to have his own adventures and becomes his own man and fulfills his own destiny, you know, forming his own new race. I don't know, maybe. So we'll actually start with, recently you guys were at an event. It was IEM San Jose. It was an international tournament, but not actually the World Championships, so those are quite rare. Going into the event, DoA, did you actually have any kind of sense that I did that? Unfortunately, the initial announcement of all the teams at the event looked pretty cool, actually. Like, different teams represented, but it seemed like as we got closer to the event, people died out in some kind of zombie apocalypse, and we just end up with these sort of like weird teams where not many of them were in real lineups. What did you think going into that?
I mean, what are you supposed to think going into that, where like all the teams have these names you recognize, but the players are all different? It's kind of like a zombie fan fiction version of a normal tournament, and then you've got like Jin Air in the middle of all that, but it's like none of the Jin Air players I actually like. And so I don't know. I kind of just showed up and was like, well, whoever has most of the same players they had previously is probably going to win it.
Which is actually entirely accurate analysis there, DoA.
Except for LGD.
There you go.
LGD don't exist, Money. We don't talk about that.
Well,
so anyway,
LGD doesn't count. You know they're terrible.
I seem to remember somebody predicting that they would win.
Yeah, it was you. Wasn't it? Was it not you?
Throwing me under the bus.
Yeah, listen, Monty, we both drank poison in that case, so you still die as well. See, that's the thing with you, Monty. I've always felt that, actually. I feel like you give off the vibe that you're a guy who's like all about loyalty. But put it this way, if me and you got involved in a suicide pact, I'd make sure you finished that drink before I started drinking mine. That's all I'm going to say, mate. I'd maybe check what's in our cups there, you know. I feel like I'm not entirely sure which way that world would go. So, okay, actually, let's just start there then. So, LGD, I mean, I had them as the favourite. I thought that things would be different and they would win this time. What went wrong for LGD, Monty?
Who the hell knows? I mean, it looked like they weren't really prepared again for this tournament, but I don't know how much longer you could use that excuse with this particular team. You know what I mean? So yeah. I just think that they looked absolutely terrible. I think that's pretty objectively true.
I mean, all we were missing was like another video with PYL being like, "We don't know how to play on this patch. Sorry, guys." And then it would have been perfect. Would have been like Worlds 2.0. Would have been much more comfortable, you know.
In terms of the actual performances, so the one that stuck out to me, obviously, Monty, was still like God V, who now changed his name, but is still equally the same, basically. Because here's the thing, when you look at a lot of the other ones, I mean, it's still confusing to me that Acorn could be so bad. I still don't understand that, okay? I don't really know what's going on there. Imp was still decent, so I don't have a problem there. But the one problem with the God V one is when you consider that these are the only international tournaments he's played, I mean, I realise we still haven't got a large data size, but I have to assume he's just an international choker or something.
I mean, at this point, that seems like a relatively reasonable conclusion considering what's going on. It's just really depressing that this team that looked so good in China and at least had strong individual performances, if nothing else, has so completely fallen on its face.
I was kind of, I was hoping that changing his name to Pain Evil would unleash some sort of like secret dark power that he had. But I was kind of thinking maybe if you're going to go that direction, go for something like XX Shadow Sephiroth XX, but it didn't help. Pain Evil didn't help, so oh well. Now he's just got another loss with an even sillier name than he had before.
I mean, the thing that's so confusing about it is, this is a great example of where you can tell by how people comment if they actually did ever watch the domestic region the player's from. Because people who are like, well, you guys overhyped him. By the way, he played like 100 games. We saw him play 100 games where he was really, really good. Like, it's not like we saw 3 games and we're like, oh, I'm going to hype this guy up. Like, no, he was really good. He's really good, right, Monty, in China.
Yes, it was great.
Well, in Korea, we heard a ton of players talking about how good he was. And like, it was one of the few times that I remember hearing Korean players being like, we have to play like this guy who's not from Korea. That does not happen very often, but people are saying that like with his Diana and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, definitely one of the most underwhelming players internationally that I've ever seen.
On the other side of the coin, what did you actually think of the new TSM, DoA? I mean, it's not really the new TSM because apparently casting's not in, but at least it was a new variant of TSM.
I don't know. They looked okay. I mean, you can't really call somebody good for beating LGD, right? But I mean, I don't know. We don't know how the
used
double
to be able
Ericsson
to.
thing is going to work, and it's not even the final roster. So like, who really cares about that TSM? Because that TSM isn't going to be playing in the LCS, right?
See, I'll just take that and edit out the word that and just put who really cares about TSM? DoA 2015. You're in with us now, DoA. You're on the right show
fitting
here.
that in.
Okay. Monty, I realise, I'll put my cards on the table. People know my biases, but let me just put this out there, okay? So you can imagine what probably happened to my Twitter feed, etc., when LGD lost this series, Monty. You can probably imagine. It was full of people like, Hauntzer shit all over Flame. Now, listen, if someone legitimately loses, like, for example, I thought Willis was a pretty good player. I can then totally say he was terrible in these tournaments. I can say Nami wasn't particularly good in the Season 4 Worlds. But let's just be real a second. In Game 1 of this series, it's not that Hauntzer totally shit on Flame. Like, I don't really know what match people are trying to characterize in that particular sense. First of all, he had, like, jungle pressure the whole game. And I think he got maybe one solo kill, and then the rest of the game, Flame was actually one of the better players on the team, did some okay engagement, and the team was just so terrible they'd lost the game entirely. What did you actually think of this matchup? Did Hauntzer wreck Flame? Tell me the truth. If it's true, you got to just tell me straight
I think the TSM did a very good job of playing around Hauntzer and getting him ahead. There were a lot of early ganks in those games that I thought were very effective. So I think that they did a good job of setting up Hauntzer to be successful in that particular game.
I mean, put it this way. If we're talking about 2v2, jungler versus top laner, jungle synergy versus jungle synergy top lane from the other side, yeah, TSM overwhelmingly won that. I'm aware that TVQ is not a good player. That has never been a contention of mine, believe it or not, fans out there. And actually, if I was any other team, that's exactly how I would be playing against LGD. Let's fuck up that jungler. He seems pretty terrible. All the rest of those players, some of them are good. What did you actually think of Hauntzer? He's obviously a new addition to TSM, though, and obviously in Gravity, he was good in the regular split, but they had a bad playoff performance. Like, I mean, he is a permanent member of the new TSM. What do you think of him as a player?
I mean, I think it's definitely an upgrade. I think he's somebody they can work with a little bit more in the top lane than they could with Dyrus towards the end there. And I mean, for what it's worth, I had him on my fantasy team for the last a couple splits, and he always got a lot of points. So he interacts with the game at least, which is nice. But I don't know. I think it's an upgrade. But then again, actually, as far as top laners go in NA, though, he's one of the better ones, isn't he?
Certainly.
I don't watch a lot of NALCS, but
I'm
that's
glad
the
when you said
impression that I get.
fantasy there that I quickly realised you meant the actual Riot fantasy, or I was going to have to fuck you up in the editing suite there. DoA. So, okay, that's acceptable. You can do that in the Riot fantasy one where you can win no money.
I won the Spring League, though, and that pride felt so good.
I realised even just saying you can win money there just triggered the shit out of Monty. So, how did you like that, Monty, when they just let that footage just go out, apparently, even though that was obviously a warm-up session, you know?
You know what's funny is that people were speculating that it was because they were talking about winning money that they redid the shot. That wasn't it at all. The production just messed up. That was it. It's totally fine to say you could win money.
Well, not least since every single episode of Thorin Slots, I'm like, I'm getting that mad Skrilla. Like, what do you think that's all about? It's not. We're not really hiding the fact.
What happened with that entire clip that was hilarious? So we're doing that pre-show for Alpha Draft, and they just messed up the production. So I flipped them off because I didn't want to do it again, and they made me redo it. And then they uploaded the wrong take to YouTube, and then there's like a gif of me flipping people off now. So there you go. There's the story.
Hey.
It wasn't very exciting,
It
actually.
could have been worse, Monty. I mean, put it this way. All I'm going to tell you is, if there's ever a hot mic when I do broadcasts, I go fucking mental at the production people. Because you can imagine the sort of shit I say 1 second up
I don't have to imagine. I know the reality of it.
Hey, listen, here's what people don't realize. It gets people loosened up, you know, maybe throws people for a curve, you know. But it's not for people, I'll repeat, it is not for the people who are listening to the actual broadcast to hear what I'm saying there.
That's true for like any caster in any game, though. Like if people heard what was said, like right before and after the mics are live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like a broadcast. Obviously, in this case, it wasn't. But if it's a broadcast that's going long, like you're doing 3 or 4 games, you can't talk like you're a Sunday school teacher for like 5 games in a row. You're going to say some things in between the games. It's reasonable, right? Has there ever been a scenario on OGN where some mad thing got through, where you thought the mic was dead and some crazy shit got through?
No, not really.
No, not too much.
Usually
there's
they're pretty
been
good
some
at
funny
OGN.
stuff, but yeah, at OGN usually. It happened. I remember it happening more at other places, but OGN's usually pretty on top of that stuff. And we can hear, like, it's really easy for us to tell at OGN actually, because we can hear the crowd noise through our microphones, kind of like the LCS. And so we know if our microphones are live or not. Okay. So like if there's a commercial break and they don't come off, we can tell right away. And we just like look angrily towards the back room and
I'll tell you
mics and stuff.
I'll tell you a fucked up story actually. So I did an event maybe like a month and a half ago that was in Serbia. And unfortunately, the production crew for this event had never done an event on this scale before, and you could tell by the way the desk was set up, there was like lots of problems, and sometimes like your mic would be off when actually it was on the broadcast, and vice versa, you know. So there's all sorts of problems, and as a result, the people doing the broadcast sometimes did like leave the mic on too long or didn't have it on at the beginning of the session, but you didn't realize this until you kind of got in the flow of the event. So it just so happened that because it was this event in Serbia, some fan from Serbia, as a joke, brought me these candies, right, that they have in Serbia. And you can Google this, everyone watching this, I didn't make this up. The candy is called Negro, and it's a sort of licorice candy that's apparently nothing to do with any racial term. It's supposed to do with something, obviously because in their language it means something to do with black, you know, but it's supposedly something to do with like, I think like coal miners or something. I can't remember what the story is, okay, but the picture doesn't even have anything to do with anything racial. But the problem is, because they gave me this candy, obviously that was like mad puns were just being made off camera, etc. And so I just remember there was one point where our mics were supposed to be off, like it's already going to broadcast, and I just said to someone, like, here's the worst part of it, Monty, we weren't on camera, so they couldn't see me holding the packet. So all I just said was, fancy a Negro? And like, you have to realise the context, if someone can't see that I'm holding these candies, is so ridiculous. Unsurprisingly, we weren't mental at that production crew there. I mean, the problem with it was, Monty, it really was one of the funniest, like, pun things you could do, because I went, well, they always come in packs, don't they? So the whole thing was dynamite. It was a beautiful, but that was quite annoying. Luckily, no one watched the event, Monty, and nothing came of it, so no problem. My career continues unabated.
There was one time where it wasn't quite like that, but there was a small tournament called IESF where Artosis and I casted an entire StarCraft finals with our mics muted because they didn't turn them on, and we had no idea because we could hear each other. And then after the finals, we're like, oh, that was a great finals, and we look on Twitter and like there was no sound at all. So we just casted it to ourselves, apparently.
You know, the sad thing is, IESF is actually going on this week
in
League of Legends, but no one that you've ever heard of plays, except Darker, the guy who played support very briefly in Gambit. He's playing, so you know it's a sick tournament, because he hasn't been in LCS since like 2013, so you know it's a dynamite tournament. Do you guys actually know anything behind that? Because obviously, like, Korea's in some way involved with that tournament, right?
I don't really know what's going on with that, no.
Well, you know what they call those tournaments? At least back in StarCraft 2, before like League came along and all that. At least I don't think there was a League tournament, the one that I did a few years ago. But they call them photo tournaments, where basically this IESF organization, which no one really seems to know a lot about, has these tournaments. They don't really invite big players from any of the games. The prize pools are lower. Like, they don't seem to really advertise it much. Like, fans don't show up. But what happens is, like, big packs of executives show up and have their photo taken in front of the stage and all that stuff. And so I was told that these are kind of like used as sort of like marketing tools for different companies to be like, look how involved we are. And they had this, like, the one I was at, they had this weird video on repeat that was like this very corporate, like a bunch of people in a boardroom looking at a projector being like, esports. And I didn't know who any of these people were. I didn't know who any of these organizations associated with it was, but it was the weirdest tournament I've ever done. That was the one where our mics were turned off, but like no fans showed up. It was players that weren't very good. It was just like a bunch of executives that would show up for a little bit, photos, and then they'd leave. It was very eerie. It was very strange. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you're triggering me right there, because I'm just thinking of all those times that Dustin Beck came to all those finals and was like, congratulations, SK champions of the League of Legends.
SK
Better times. Especially because I'm sure Ocelot was sat home like, really, bro? Like, I'm not even at the tournament, really? So okay, back to this tournament. So the new TSM, Monty, do you kind of agree with DoA? Does the fact that they beat LGD first make it not that sick a run?
I mean, I don't think it really... There's not much to be gleaned from this tournament. Most teams couldn't even practice because the patch was not the one that was on the live realm, and so no one was practicing. Like, the weird circumstance of this tournament was every team was practicing on 521, which was before the preseason patch, but I mean, there wasn't anyone for these teams to practice with. The Kespa Cup, so Jin Air got some decent practice on it, but everyone else was basically scrimming on the new patch, because why the hell would you play the old patch when it was so drastically changed? So they only really had a few days to practice amongst themselves, more or less, and then at the event. So without any practice, with most players playing solo queue already on the new patch, I don't think there's too much to read into this particular situation.
You know, Monty, every night, what I love about life is, it's like if you just stick with it long enough, it'll always find a way to bring you back. Okay, so after I said day one, everyone was shitting on me hard about, like, oh, Hauntzer absolutely destroyed Flame to the level that he consumed his soul, was reincarnated as a miniature Flame, and then in fact went to the next 9th dimension. The problem is, because they went so hard, Monty, on what Hauntzer had done to Flame, then I got to sit back the next day. I had sort of my hands behind my head. Yeah, that's right. I had my feet up on the desk, watching Soaz get real busy in Hauntzer's face. You remember that series, Monty? Do you remember that one? Because here's the thing. I wouldn't have gone as ridiculous as that. But if Hauntzer destroyed Flame, then what did Soaz do to Hauntzer? That's all I'm going to say, guys. And we all know Americans hate Soaz and think he's overrated and he's a choker and a tilter. Yeah, he tilted all over that guy's face. That's all I'm saying. Tilted wall. He literally banged Hauntzer so much around. Hauntser's eyes rolled up and said, tilt, 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 tilt. Yeah, I think you get the point. No, Hauntzer, the thing is, that's the difference. When everyone always says Soaz tilts, yeah, he tilts against the best Korean top ladies. He doesn't just tilt against random people, does he? He's a pretty good player.
I mean, he definitely, in my mind, was the MVP of that tournament and played very, very well.
Well, I mean, when Origin showed up on day 2, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of what we expected, right? Because Origin had a really good Worlds run, and they looked really strong, and they got arguably an upgrade in the mid lane, and yeah, looked just fine. Seemed to have no trouble at all winning 5 games and winning a tournament.
What did you think, Monty, about the fact that I mean, listen, this format has been used many times in IEMs, and I realize they do it because of supposedly, like, they only can hire the event for so many days, whatever the reasoning is. But it means that two of the teams you can sometimes only see for one series, or you'll only see them for 2 series max because they start in the semi-finals. What do you actually think of that format? Because in this tournament particularly, it seemed like the seeding made it really weird.
Yeah, the seeding did make it quite weird. I mean, I've never been a massive fan of that, but it is part of American sports in and of that the NFL often decides to use that. Well, they do use that format for many things.
Love the NFL, especially when it's connected to esports.
I'm just saying, like, it's the wild card round is not too surprising, and it is based on seeds in the NFL too. But however, the seeds in the NFL are based on a season of actual full play between the teams, not regional rankings or whatever. I mean, they had 2 days for the tournament. I'm not going to say I was a big fan of it, but it's not the end of the world either.
It was a fun little tournament. I mean, it was you can't gain a lot competitively from it, knowledge-wise, and like it's on a patch that's never going to be played on again. So strategically, I suppose for analysts like you, it's kind of a throwaway thing.
Yeah, but it was pretty throwaway.
It was fun to be there. It was fun to watch. I don't know.
Like, the problem with this sort of format to me is, I actually preferred the old format they had. Like, if you remember the IEM Cologne 2012, where it was just 2 group stages and then it went into the semis and the final. Sure, you get less series, but you get to see everyone sort of play everyone in the group. Well, half of them only play each other, obviously, but you get a bit more play out of it in that sense. Like the problem here is, Jin Air only played 2 games and they went home, so you got to see almost nothing from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's disappointing, but I didn't really have a lot of expectations for Jin Air coming in, so I guess I wasn't really devastated by the fact that we didn't get to see that many games.
But Monty, CLG beat a Korean team. People do take circle jugs way too. I don't usually use that term, Monty, but the idea that, like, CLG has beaten more Koreans than, no one got to play teams that bad ever in the West, did they? I'm pretty sure if I'd have sent over, like, what was the name of that terrible team that was like if I'd sent over like MiG Blitz to NA, I'm pretty sure TSM would have beaten them like 2 years ago or whatever. Like Team NB or whatever. These teams wouldn't be winning series. This isn't Jin Air. This is like some abomination of Jin Air. What was this lineup? What did you think of the replacement players?
I actually thought Jin Air did better than I expected. Like, I thought their performance at the Kespa Cup was quite poor, but I thought that Kuzan and Soan in particular showed a lot of promise. They were not as bad as I expected.
I was expecting a little bit more out of Pilot and Che. I felt like they kind of needed to step up a little bit, and they didn't really do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but I don't know. I think that I had very low expectations in general of this particular roster, so I wasn't too terribly surprised.
In terms of Korean teams, yeah, not very good.
I mean, if you look at Korean teams, wouldn't this have been one of the worst teams in terms of style matchup to try and plug and play different players?
I think that it's weird that they would swap out, like, Trace and GBM were just such passive laners that switching to Kuzan and Sowan, who are much more active, much more aggressive, is a big stylistic problem. And I think that may have meshed well with Chaser, but apparently they're not retaining him on the team for whatever reason. Maybe he just got bought out by a better team, like a bigger team. Because he's a very good, or Chinese team. He's a really good player, so.
We now have to make these caveats, Monty, when we say such things. We have learned better. So, okay, actually, let me ask you about the new CLG before we go to Origin overall. What do you think of the new CLG?
I was impressed with their shot calling. I think that they had a very good macro game and played a very measured game against Jin Air. And I think that Zion showed a lot more split pushing prowess than he did at the World Championship. But it was against a less coordinated team also. I don't really have a lot of confidence that CLG is going to be great in the next split of LCS because Stixay is just a downgrade. I mean, people are trying to hype him up, and he looks like a decent rookie player, but he's got a long way to go, and Huhi really was underwhelming. So I think they've downgraded at 2 positions, and that's going to mean that a lot of pressure is put on Zion Spartan in the top lane, and then when he was shut down by Soaz, CLG was basically helpless. So I think that it's pretty clear that you can just focus Zion Spartan, and then there will no longer be a threat, and they'll be quite easy to take down. And also, the other issue is if the meta ever shifts, which it will, into like an AD carry meta, it's going to be very important to have a good AD carry on the team. So
I love the logic of that as well. And that's how genius CLG are. Their prescience of counter logic nature is so good that they would get rid of their star AD carry just before the meta switches for the first time in like 3 or 4 seasons to being AD carry centric. It's perfect. It's just I don't know how they do it at this point. It's like trying not to do it just makes it even more. Basically, CLG's problem is they're like when you go back in time in a movie and you think, right, well, I've got to change the future. But at the end of changing all the future, you realize, like, oh, wait, this is exactly what happened to them. Oh, no. And you've actually made it exactly the same way it was always going to be. That's kind of they're like the 12 Monkeys, basically. Notice I said they're like the movie The 12 Monkeys there. I'm not saying that CLG themselves, any of their members, are like monkeys. Just, we have to listen. Again, we have to clarify these things, though. I know you probably thought it was obvious. Yep. Yeah, see, if I'd have gone back in time, I'd said, yeah, make the reference about a different team, but I didn't do it about TSM this time.
Use a different animal.
One of the series that they won was against Unicorns of Love, right? The Unicorns of Love team, to me, Monty, really highlighted some of the problems with people dropping out of this tournament because that team doesn't look like it's going to do anything anywhere. God.
Yeah.
I don't even think that team should be allowed to live and go into OCS. That better be like a one-off roster where people would just like. That better be like a per diem team.
I don't know. That roster looks really dire.
Oh my God! Look, Stixay is dominating. He is against Steelback. Steelback and EU LCS champion, you mean? No, I don't. I mean, what in the world is that? So, okay, what did you think of the actual final? I mean, this final looked like dog shit when I watched it, Monty. I mean, it's fun to watch Origin beat people, but competition.
I mean, it was kind of what we expected, right? But I think with CLG, I feel like we saw them look worse every series they played. Like, even in the 2 over Jin Air, I felt like they looked worse in the 2-0 over Unicorns of Love. And then Origin, like, clearly just completely outclassed them.
Yeah. They really did rock them pretty hard. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to say about that. It was really a pretty one-sided final overall.
What did you think of new boy Power of Evil in Origin? I mean, admittedly, Humi was terrible, so it was hard to see too much. But over the whole tournament, what do you think of his addition?
I think that's such a good upgrade for them. I really think that was a great roster move for them to make. I think it's pretty clear that he is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the future, and that was a good move.
Do you think now that they will just have, I mean, assuming he plays all the games, will they just be like a triple threat team where they just decide, depending on the opponent, what to do?
No, I don't think Expeke is coming back. I think realistically, just from the amount that he needs to practice and the pressures of being an owner, like, I understand that he probably thinks right now that he's going to be able to do that, but I really doubt that is going to be the reality in the long run.
What do you think of Power of Evil, DoA?
I mean, I'll just agree with Monte, right? But no, obviously, I mean, he's certainly got a little bit more flexibility than Expeke had, and Expeke is obviously a legend of the mid lane. But, you know, like you said, it's tough to do everything behind the scenes and then everything in front of the camera too. It's just like too much for one person to handle effectively. So it's a smart move to step back and let Power of Evil take over a little bit. And I really like that they only changed one spot on their roster. Like, all these teams are changing like 3 or 4 people, and some teams it's not like by choice, right? Of course, but you don't really know if a squad is working if you keep changing that many factors, right? I mean, if you want to see what the problem is and if you want to like fix your team, it seems like it'd make more sense to change one point at a time and see if that fixes it, and then change another point rather than just change the entire thing, because then you're not really learning anything, I feel like. So I like that it's only one player different, you know, instead of like 3 or 4.
What do you actually think, Monte, in terms of, since they've replaced Power of Evil, in terms of Expeke, that looks better. Origin's kept their team together. They were already one of the best EU teams, and now there's all this uncertainty in Europe where we hear all the, like, if there's 2 different super teams being posited behind the scenes, Fnatic's falling apart. As of right now, should Origin be the best EU team, do you think?
I think that unless they get ripped apart by, like, okay, so there's always the possibility, who knows what their contract situation is, and I don't know who bought Gravity or Impulse, like, but they could theoretically, I suppose, do something where they try and take some of those players away from Origin, but as long as they can maintain their roster, I think it looks really, really good for them, and that they should be a pretty easy lock, because there's not really going to be another team that can challenge them. You know what I mean? Like, who exactly is going to take the crown from them at this point in time?
I mean, basically just those super team lineups. But then again, that'd be like a TSM scenario where you also have to, it's more than just the names on paper. You have to see they're actually playing the server, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are the super teams that you're referring to?
I mean, some of them are like, at the moment, the key players that seem to be going between both is the Rockat players, is Jankos and Vander. So there are some that have been like Kabashard, Jankos. Let me think who the mid laners were. There was one that was like H2K, so it was going to be like, I think Ryu, Jankos, Vander, Forgiven, and someone else, maybe Kabashard. Like, you can see, like, in theory, on paper, these all look like super good ones. Then there's if some of those players stay in Rockat, so then in Rockat maybe they'd still have Nuke Duck, but then get some super good player from another position. So on paper, these do look like star lineups, but those are like vastly different personalities, so it's very hard to know how any of those teams would play. But at least man for man, they look enticing.
I think it really just depends on where some of those Rockat players go and what's going on there. I mean, it's just weird because at the beginning of this whole roster swap scenario, it seemed like that Rockat was actually going to be a pretty strong team based on some of the roster changes that they had the capacity to make. So just look at them now and say, oh, this isn't... I just wonder what happened.
It's because there's supposedly some sort of story where, like, maybe that team is looking to sell the spot, or some of the players were going to go to the H2K one because the H2K have all this money, as referenced in the Svenskeren thing. So I think there's something kind of behind the scenes thing more that's predicating it than anything that happened last split, put it that way. Because obviously, yeah, they had the pieces there where they were maybe 1 or 2 pieces from being a good team anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's the weird thing, is that if they had, for example, if Rockat had kept their initial lineup and then picked up, like, Forgiven and Kabashard, that's like a really strong roster.
Although I have to say, I do find it kind of weird that all these EU roster moves always involve Forgiven and Cabochard moving as a package. Being as if I was Forgiven, I'd want to get the fuck away from Cabochard, since the entire concept was the jungler is in his lane 24 hours. Do you enjoy playing 2v3? No. Then go to a team where the jungler comes to your lane, Forgiven. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But, okay, so here's my question. After seeing CLG at IEM, and in theory, that is the real CLG lineup. Like, as far as we know, at the moment, they haven't got any plans to make any particular lineup change. That might really be the LCS roster. Has that at all altered your perspective on the next split, Monte? Bearing in mind, a young man called Loco Doko says to have faith in CLG and that they'll be a top team in NLCS.
When did he say that?
On that episode called 62 of Summoning Insight.
Oh, right.
So he just like forgot. Oh wait, I'm meant to be. Oh yeah, I'm friends with him. Haha. Yes, that was a joke. Okay.
I mean, no. It's just like I just don't really see that as. I do think their shot calling is good, but I think that Huhi and Stixay have a long way to go, especially when there are teams that have really strong rosters on paper, like Immortals and Energy coming into the league. Like, I think CLG can place in the top. I mean, I don't think they're going to be relegation material, probably. But then again, it's really hard to tell because we simply don't know what 2 out of the 10 teams, like 1/5 of the league right now, doesn't have rosters. It's a pretty crazy situation, really.
Is it known when everyone has to announce the final roster by?
I don't know. No.
When does the season start? It's in January, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. You'd think that they would be a little bit more. I really don't know what's going on with some of these rosters and who is going to purchase them and everything like that.
What do you think in terms of this new TSM lineup? Like, obviously they are going to change the support player, and we don't technically know that as is this episode, but it seems likely as to who the candidate is. What do you actually think of the core of this new lineup, Monte? Is it going in the right direction for what you thought when you saw those star names?
I think that if they get Yellowstar, that is a very, very good change for TSM, because that's exactly what they needed, right? They needed that shot caller, that sort of in-game leader to actually fix a lot of their macro problems. And I think that's what Yellowstar is going to provide to this team. So I think it sounds like a great roster with Yellowstar.
It'd be a really good.
Do you think, DoA, will that be like the best Western team, or could it be?
I think it definitely could be. It depends on if they work out some of the kinks that we've seen with their strategy, but they didn't have very long to practice coming into IEM, so I would think that they could deal with those issues given enough time.
What do you think, DoA?
I think it looks really strong. I mean, obviously Yellowstar getting in there with Doublelift is like kind of a Doublelift fanboy dream, right? To have a support like that. And I mean, Doublelift should consider himself pretty lucky to go from, laning with Aphromoo to then like laning with Yellowstar. If this does go through, that should help him kind of keep being the Doublelift that we know and love, right? But I don't know. I'm just looking forward to Bjergsen versus GBM in 2016. That's my excitement level, I guess.
I mean, by all accounts, Yellowstar is basically the best shot caller we've ever had in the West. Like, anyone who'd be like, yeah, but what about High?
High, yeah. Him or High?
Yeah, how can you say High, mate? He's barely played with 8 different teammates. Yellowstar's had like 1 billion different teammates now. He's been sick with all of them as the shot caller for 3 straight split seasons.
The other thing is High, when he left, and then when he came back last season, he actually did make a pretty immediate impact upon his return.
But he still had a lot of the same players, though. So,
fair. I think
here's the thing. If we didn't consider that extra factor, they're both probably quite similar. They're both really good. But I think when you add that in, that's an extra level of diversity from Yellowstar. That's unreal, especially taking total rookies as well.
I suppose we don't technically know that High doesn't have that quality too. We've just never gotten to see it.
No, that's the point, that you can't speculate until you get the chance to, which we might do. Hey, this split, we may well see that, because there'll be some slightly different players, and who knows if there's more moves to come in the future. So we might yet get to see on that aspect. Okay, let me think, actually, because there have been some roster moves. So let's have a look at some of them.
Well, there have been a bunch of ones in Korea, so...
Okay, so what's the first one you're thinking of, Monte? Okay, at the moment, there have mainly been people leaving. So what did you think of the fact that Marin has left SK Telecom?
I guess I'm not too surprised. Just from knowing Marin, I don't think he's the kind of guy who's happy living in Faker's shadow or constantly being runner-up to Faker in terms of the fans' opinions or hearts, I guess. And I think that makes sense, like given his career and the fact that he's coming off an MVP performance at the World Championship. SK Telecom does pay their players quite well, so I'm pretty sure after his performance he could have gotten a good contract. As good as China, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see where he ends up and who SKT gets, because they have an opportunity to get somebody like Duke right now, but Duke is not really a shot caller for Najin, and he's not the most communicative player from what I understand.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about SKT losing Marin, but
I'm not. The whole thing
they seem to always find a way, don't they? But
well, they have the prestige and they have the money, so they can always just come back and you know, they will have the most people trying out for that team.
I've got a feeling. I don't think SKT is going to win Worlds in 2016. That's my 2016 prediction right there, I guess.
I think it's way too
DoA
soon.
takes the entire field against SK Telecom. Would anyone like to place a bet? No, thank you.
I just said they're not going to win Worlds. That's it. It's a pretty broad prediction, but I think you're right with like Marin's attitude as far as like wanting to be a little bit more in the spotlight. I mean, when he came in, he was supposed to be like, they called him top lane Faker, right? He was supposed to be like the big star on SK Telecom S, and it just never really happened. He didn't really shine until the teams combined and he got to be the top laner for just SKT. And I don't know. I think he could make another team very, very happy. I would have like almost expected him to go over to CJ, but they're keeping Shy, so I would imagine we probably won't see him there. But I don't know. I hope we see him stay in Korea, but I hear there's a lot of money in
he's
China.
going to China.
Huh?
Doesn't it seem quite likely he's going to China?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, when any top Korean player leaves their team right now, you kind of expect them to end up in China. But
I mean, with the amount of money for that Easyhoon deal, it's not really a surprise as to why.
Yeah, I mean, Easyhoon is not a big shock at all.
And people have to realize,
I'm actually kind of surprised at how much money Easyhoon got. If
Really?
that like $800,000 a year contract is true.
I mean, he's not a particularly exciting player, so you wouldn't think he'd have that many Chinese fans.
I mean, he is a good player, but like I would, if I was going to pay that kind of money and I couldn't get Faker, I would take Coco personally. So,
Yeah, Coco's got what Easyhoon has, but he's got a little bit more of the successful, aggressive nature, whereas Easyhoon like really, really needs to work to be good on aggressive champions, it seems like, or to make aggressive plays, but he can do it. I feel like it's something that Easyhoon actually got better on in 2016.
yeah, he did. It's a good point.
So-
He did.
So I don't know if he keeps, like, for me, if Easyhoon keeps going on the trajectory, he could like cap higher than Coco could. I think that's a possibility.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You don't
Like,
think
I
so?
think we've seen like years of Easyhoon at this point, and I don't know how much better he's realistically going to get.
But he did get better this year, right? I felt like this year we saw a bigger improvement than we saw. Like, we saw more change in Easyhoon in general, and it was positive change.
Sure, but I think he's kind of plateaued now. Like, I think he's good, but this is what you're going to get from him. He's going to be this sort of player, these sorts of champions, this sort of playing style. And now what can help is having Dandy as your jungler could help. That could definitely make you look a lot better and win a lot more games.
Right. Until he moves to top lane, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Inevitably.
that's what people seem to be unfair about with that Dandy move. Dandy moved to top lane because his mid laner was a potato and his top laner was a half-eaten sausage. So he literally was just going like, get out the way, I'll do it myself. He was going, wait a minute.
Yeah,
It doesn't
right.
matter if I gank for this top lane. It never does anything. What if I was that top laner? There we go. No ganks needed. Problem solved.
The problem with that whole situation, though, is that it's kind of disingenuous to post it like that because they could have just gotten a different top laner and kept him in the jungle, right? They didn't have to make that particular roster move.
No, because first of all, he's someone making $1 bajillion, so he has a lot of say in what he does himself. And then secondly, in China, there's no logic like that works, mate. Like, there's a million teams that have terrible players at a position, and some of them even have better players on the farm team, and they just don't bring them over. They just inexplicably don't. Like, you know that story I told you where, to this day, that TBQ guy even I'm talking like going into Worlds, would do interviews where he would brag about the fact that he's really good. Like it's like a David Lynch movie out there, man. It's not. There's no logic going on here. It's just pure abstract dream reality.
I appreciate the confidence, you know. Fake it until you make it, right?
I don't think he's managed the second part of that. He's just faking it.
Just fake it.
And at this point, he's not
Step
made
one
it.
complete.
He's just been exposed for faking it, and he's now naked in class, and he can't wake up. Basically, that's what's going on there.
He just needs a name change, man. Like
what do you think he should change his name to?
I think he should change his name to something like Dark Master 69 or something.
Are all of your name changes AOL Instant Messenger account names from
Pretty much.
2004?
I'd go farther back. I'd go to ICQ, man. I think that's where you get a lot of them from. Or the original Xbox Live, you know?
You know, you couldn't have names on ICQ. I was going to point this out.
It's just numbers.
Oh, okay, you're right. All right.
Get wrecked.
I just called myself. I would just, at the start of every message, would be like, from DoA.
Like, you know, you hear these stories, like you used to hear it in the mid 2000s about like guys would actually give like girls their email address or what, you know, that, and they would get in contact. Or now you could just give someone your Skype. Here's how you knew that you were nerds back in the day with ICQ. You're never going to get a girl by going, yeah, my ICQ number is 907844427. Like, that's never going to work, is it? You're never going to pull off. But the good side is, Monty, you never had to worry about that. So, you know, look on the bright side. Look on the bright side. You were never going to have to say that if you were an ICQ user. So, no problem whatsoever.
Wow. Colin Cowherd calls. He loved that part just now.
I know. Listen, mate, here's the problem with the whole Colin Cowherd. You know, I'm real DoA. Here's the problem. So Colin Cowherd, a guy who knows nothing about esports, went off about how esports is full of nerds and idiots, right? So then a girl who knows nothing about esports went, no, esports is that e-gamers are actually great people who are intelligent and make good diet decisions. I'm like, at this point, what am I even judging here, guys? It's two people who have no clue what they're talking about. The fact that one backdoored her way into sort of being vaguely right while using all the wrong terminology doesn't really like, and the whole battle was of no consequence to me at that point in time, you know, like.
Well, these are the type of people too that like use the name nerd, and then like later on they're asking you like what you would define a nerd as, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, if you want to like call yourself a nerd, call yourself a nerd. Yeah. You don't have to make like some sort of specific definition as to what a nerd is. It's like, well, in the dictionary, or like I've spent a lot of time with nerds and they tell me that being a nerd is. It's like they want this sort of information. No. Doesn't really exist. Sorry.
I don't understand why nerd's a bad term. Like, again,
it's not.
That's like a term from the 1980s. Like, if we've been around any people in esports, they're mad fucking nerdy. Even the ones who aren't like super into normal nerd things are all like weeabo fucks who are like, oh, did you watch new anime XX? Let me have this Pocky. Delicious. This is an excellent treat. Like, these people are like normal in the sense of normal as in like what you expect from society, you know? This is a subculture.
And there's nothing wrong with it too. I mean, the thing I don't really see nerd having a negative connotation in the larger like public for at least a decade now or something like that. So anyone who's like using nerd in a derogatory sense is kind of not quite up with the times, I think, honestly.
Yeah, once upon a time that was a really, especially as, this is the worst part about it, Monty. So nowadays you'll get girls who are like, oh, I'm such a nerd, me. I love Star Wars. And you go, what, the expanded universe? No, Star Wars. You go, what, the six of the top 10 most viewed movies of all time. I don't think that qualifies you as a nerd. You don't even know anything. Ask about, oh, what about Jango Fett? Who is Jango Fett? Yeah, shut your fucking mouth. You don't know shit about nerds.
As I always ask, have you seen the holiday special? And if the answer is no, I'm like, talk to the hand, poser.
I don't know. I think that whole situation at IEM was just so ridiculous.
Well, it's okay because actually in the CS tournament, they really like showed that nobody is a nerd, and they really reclaimed a lot of the gravitas of important esports events by throwing pies into each other's faces. So there's 1920s slapstick humor from the Three Stooges.
Oh, come on. Have some fucking sense of humor, Thorin.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
It's okay to have fun.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Which part was your favourite part? Was it the who getting pied was your favourite part?
Look, I didn't even see it.
I didn't know this happened until right now.
Monty didn't take part in the fun. Okay, I see how it is.
I was League of Legendsing.
But in any case, like, I just don't, in terms of the show matches and everything like that, it just, like, I don't get the importance of bringing in all these people who are making vague statements about esports when they don't know esports at all.
Well, we don't need validation anymore. Like, it's not a matter of like, oh, is esports going to make it? It's already quite a large industry. It's doing just fine. The question is like, how big is it going to grow eventually? So I think it is past the time to. I mean, I think the interest is always nice. It's always nice to see people that like esports and want to talk about it. That's fine, but we don't need it like some sort of validation. Like, I didn't go to bed that night and be like, oh, thank goodness Mark Cuban loves esports. Now I can sleep easy. It's nice to hear it, but it's not something necessary for esports to grow or survive.
Here's the funny thing. Unwittingly, that show match actually highlighted how far from the mainstream esports still is. Because here's the thing, I've always said, if esports really was mainstream, you wouldn't need to search out people who say something like, every now and then I play a game of Dota. It would be so ubiquitous that Shaq would be like tweeting now, like, yeah, just had a sick game, I went 11-4 and then that doesn't happen. What's funny is the fact that these people were terrible in the show match actually makes it look stupid. Like, here's the thing, if there were lots of celebs taking part, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but on stuff like Top Gear, they'll always have celebrities come on and then they get them to try out like a new car and they're trying to put a certain time on like a time trial on a racetrack. And what you'll always find is there'll be one celebrity, sometimes a woman, for example, who might have not a job that's got nothing to do with driving a car, but it turns out she's actually like wicked at driving. She'll like break the time or do some really good like drifting around the corners. And so what'll happen is you'll go, wow, I guess she really is into driving, right? In a real world where celebrities were into esports, you'd get a couple of players like that where actually you'd find out, hey, this guy's not bad, and you wouldn't know it, but maybe he's like, I don't know, like a platinum level player. That's not ridiculous if someone was half decent at the game. But all these celeb games are always people who are absolute trash at the game. Like the only reason to watch is just
they're also not picking the players that we know are good. I mean, there are guys like, Jeremy Lin who play Dota actively, or like Gordon Hayward's
out there too. Yeah.
So,
and they were in no rush to come and play in this dog shit show match, were they?
Well, who knows if they were invited or not? But they are actually, there are players, there are people out there that do actually play League of Legends or some of these other games, but they have not shown up yet. And probably they're not rushing over to play the show match because they don't give a fuck, because it's just something they do for fun, and they don't feel the need, just like we don't feel the need, to seek that validation.
I could tell this Brian Krasnich guy was never going to be good, because I went on his Twitter when it was announced, and it said like Intel CEO, and I was like, how could an Intel CEO have like 4,000 Twitter followers? Is he like, is his entire life some sort of front where he actually doesn't even know how to use computers himself, and he's just like one of those like old school boardroom guys, like trying to keep up? Yep, Twitter is the new medium for me. Like, what do I do here? And he's just paying. Maybe he's paying some like street hustler guy to like tell him, yeah, just make a Twitter account, do this. Like, how could the CEO of Intel not have mad Twitter followers?
No clue.
With all his sick League of Legends experience, he's down with the kids, obviously. You know what? I've just figured it out, Monty. That's exactly where this show match happened. He was like telling people, like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm having a hard time with this Twitter thing, man. Even though I do work for Intel, I totally know about computers and everything. And they were like, well, sir, a lot of the kids are down with this thing called esports. And if you were to show, I mean, at the moment, a lot of people are calling them bug-reading nerds. But if you were to show that you play esports, maybe young people would like you and follow you on Twitter. He was like, good idea. And then he obviously got like 100 Twitter followers of it, because everyone was like, this guy's terrible. If I even followed him, I will now unfollow him. Like, it didn't work out for him.
I mean, I think it's more, there's a group of, kind of first generation Silicon Valley nerds, right? Those are the guys who kind of were there at the start of the tech industry, and they're still there, and they're still obviously very active, being the CEO of Intel, but they're interested in new stuff that's coming up, and I'm kind of sympathetic to it, because even though, obviously he hasn't played a lot, and obviously he's not terribly invested in the game, he just finds it interesting, and he wanted to show up and do this fun thing. And again, I think that's totally fine that he wanted to show up and do this fun thing. And he, I feel like he was doing it for himself, but I don't like that it's like trotted out as this sort of like, now we can all be happy we're in esports thing,
Yeah, I do know.
What do you think about this story that apparently Mata will leave Vici, which obviously opens the door, either he retires or maybe he comes back to Korea? What do you think, Monty?
I mean, there's nothing to say that he wouldn't be a coach either, right? So I don't really know what is going to go on with that. I think it's very interesting. I hope he comes back to Korea. Maybe he'll go to Incredible Miracle, considering that's where everybody is slated to go, considering the amount of money that they are purported to have.
If you want to keep the players away from China, just bring the money into Korea. And then Chinese money's in Korea, and you get to keep the Korean players there. Brilliant. I'm sure this will go splendidly for many years.
Yeah, I don't know. He might, who knows? He might go to a different Chinese team. It's really difficult to tell what exactly he's going to do. I really would hope that he can come back to Korea, though. I think that would be his goal as well. But
we'll see.
Is it too naive, Monte, to dare to dream that since SK Telecom needs a shot caller, that Mata or Peekaboo joins SK Telecom?
I think that he could go back to SKT. It's definitely possible, depending on, he left in the first place because they didn't want to let him, they wanted to keep him and have him heal his injury more, and he wanted to play immediately. So it's a possibility that he could leave and do something else with SK Telecom again. It's not like they have a bad relationship or anything.
I'm a little bit surprised about the Peekaboo leaving KT thing, because by everything I'd heard, he sounded pretty happy there. I mean, they were giving him the opportunity to do what he wanted to do. So I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm really curious to see where he's going to end up, because I did not see him leaving KT so soon.
So at the moment, Monte, most of the changes are people, just teams dying and everyone leaving. But there were some changes where someone actually went to a team. So for some unknown reason, Ambition really is the unkillable demon kid. He should have the name that Faker had there, because I once made a comment ages ago, Monte, that if you look at Ambition's face, he looks like a character portrait in Tekken, because he looks like he's from the Kazama family, and he apparently cannot be killed. Like he will continue playing forever, and now apparently he's on Samsung, but as a jungler still. Like, what do you think of this move?
I think that we'll see how the rest of the roster shakes out. I mean, they cut everybody except for Kuve and Crown, but Crown's been doing really well, actually. Crown's an up-and-coming mid laner for sure, and was at number one in Korean solo queue at one point. He was getting consistently better throughout the season. So I think that could be, Samsung could be a good team. The thing is, they lost Fury, which is a little bit worrisome.
Yeah, that was strange. I thought they'd be able to, because he's good, but he's not good. I didn't see him as good enough to get sniped by another team so fast, But I guess he is.
No, Fury is very good. So yeah. Ambition, though, I don't know. Maybe they just needed a veteran player who is going to help out the team, but it is a bit of a surprise that they would be so keen to take him.
It's like LiLac to Jungle Boogaloo.
It's not that bad.
It's okay.
Well, he's not playing as many roles.
Because here's the thing. What they did manage to get in losing Fury was they got Core JJ from Dignitas, one of your favorites.
I think Core's okay, but I think that is another bit of a surprise that they would be
compared to Fury?
Yeah.
Definitely a downgrade.
Yes, definitely.
So since there was also moves where Kane and Reach went to be coaches at CJ, before we get into that, I think we should actually address the topic of Najin, because obviously Najin lost basically everyone. Because the organization, some of them left initially, and then the org just died outright. So what do you think of this, DoA? Najin is no more.
Well, I mean, they've been a top team in Korea since the very beginning of League of Legends, essentially. So it's sad to see them go, but honestly, it's been a while since Najin was a big player in the Korean scene as far as having big impact in tournaments and stuff. So I'm not terribly surprised. I mean, we had heard rumors that the organization wasn't maybe interested in continuing having a team. So I kind of, some of us here I think kind of saw it coming, but it is sad to see a long time organization like that just sort of break up.
Yeah, and the thing about Najin too is someone is going to replace Najin, so that's not a concern really for fans. It's not like they're not going to, somebody's going to be taking care of the players that are remaining and stuff like that. So
well, there's still a lot of organizations that are ready and waiting to jump into the the Korean scene too. There's a lot of big companies here that are interested. So I just hope actually, I won't say I hope. Do you think the players will stick together?
Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
Also, again, once you get out of prison, DoA, you don't usually just say, like, let's just keep hanging around all my cellmate and that. Like, usually you go, listen, it's nice to see you. I hope everything goes great with your life. Let's get the fuck away from the warden. Definitely don't hang around with him anymore. Like, that's it. You're out. Because the sickest thing was that season 5 Najin had so many good players on it, considering how terrible they were. Never made a top 4.
Yeah, and who knows what's going to happen to OQ and Peanut and Duke and some of these players, because they at the least were very good at kind of farming talent. You know,
well, I wonder where
new
Watch is
promising
going to.
players.
Yeah.
I think Watch is going to retire. That's what I think.
Yeah, or maybe coach. I could see him doing some coaching. Maybe male modeling. Who knows?
There you go.
Or K-pop videos. He's got to start already.
I think you
And
found the
model.
most likely thing.
I've got a question for you. Do you think Najin as an org, obviously the problem is they started off as one of the pre-Kesper ones, so initially they can't have had much money because most of those initial season 2 ones didn't have much because they were brand new orgs, you know. Were they one of the more ghetto teams? Because I remember when we went to do those interviews at that practice room. That practice room was so not like high tech at all, money. It was literally just like you just walk in a door off the street of some back alley and you're in there practicing. Everyone else is like, oh, come to our building. We're on the 67th floor. Like, doot, doot, doot. And then you go into like some next level shit where you're like, oh, okay, this is pretty nice.
I wouldn't call them ghetto necessarily, but I do think that, especially when we were at and they stayed at that practice facility, by the way. It's not like that changed at all.
Okay.
And it was weird because it was like, remember, it was sort of like an old nightclub or whatever. There was like a stage in there at the end.
So watch the practices moves, man.
I mean, it wasn't terrible. It seemed like they had a place to live and practice. And Najin as a company is sort of like Newegg. They're a computer parts manufacturer in Korea.
Okay. There's like a big Najin building pretty close to the Yongsan iPark Mall where the OGN studio is right now. And you can it's basically just like a big computer parts mall.
What is your best memory of Najin, DoA?
Definitely Makanoon on Najin's sword, like the whole do dive. Like more than anything, easily that Rengar game where he was farming like between the first and second turrets, and then he was farming between the inhibitor turret and the second turret, and then he was like proxy farming like in the base, and he eventually just TP'd out from, or not TP'd, he just recalled out from the base because no one wanted to touch him. Like I don't think we're ever gonna see like top lanes, crazy top lane stuff happen like that, like we saw from Makanoon and Najin's sword era.
That was a great season too.
That was a great season. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Well, sadly, we'll just never see that from top laners in general, because if you notice, the game went away from that. Even this season, when top laners could carry, like you had to have the whole team working around you still. You still have to have a sick jungler, you know, like... I mean, as Duke showed us, it doesn't matter how good you are just as a top laner. You can't just do it on your own.
Mm-hmm. It's too bad because, I mean, it was so much fun to watch top lane be kind of like a force by itself, you know? But... yeah.
What's sick is, if you think about it, they've had a really good legacy of top laners at Najin as well, because they had Makanoon, and then they had Save, now they had Duke.
Yeah.
They've had a great legacy of picking up players in general. I mean, look at the fact that 4 out of the 5 members were Najin on the World's finalists this year in the Ku Tigers, so...
Well, there's a reason why Reach got, picked up by CJ right away, and Kane's going over there too. Like, they had a good support staff for these players, and even though, maybe we'll start to see some weird roster decisions as far as game to game on CJ because Reach is there, but I think overall, they did a pretty good job.
But doesn't that also, in some sense, Monte, doesn't that also highlight that they weren't that great? If they had all these players, and it's when you leave Najin that you become super good and go to the Fallon Worlds?
Yeah, that's what I think. But I also heard that some of like the ownership or the management of Najin, I don't know how valid this rumor is, like to some degree affected a lot of who was played in those games and what their roster was going to be. So,
okay. So as in maybe they had some saying like, oh, I want this.
Yeah, I'm not sure Reach was in 100% control of that team, is what I'm saying.
That does happen, where the upper management can kind of say, we want to see this guy play, just because of the structure of some of these organizations. But we had heard too that there was just kind of a declining level of interest from the organization to keep an esports team going. So it seemed like this was kind of inevitable with the way things were going either way.
Wasn't there a case where, okay, so you know everyone always talked mad shit on any of the Korean teams that did badly. So when the famous Season 3 one where Ozone did badly, people were making jokes like, oh, don't go, well, they weren't really even jokes, but I'll say they're jokes. Oh, don't even come back to Korea, like you're a disgrace or whatever. I'm surprised people didn't seem to go quite as hard when that Najin White Shield team just like bombed out 3-0 to OMG. Like I don't think people were literally like, you are not Korean, stay in China or whatever, like, or whatever.
I'm sure some people were, but...
I mean, they were probably like, well, this was a Chinese team.
Here's the thing, I've messed it up there. I've just realized why that didn't happen, because the thing is, normally you can only say that joke if you're in like America or China, but because the round of 8 took place in Korea, they were just like, well, just don't come back. I guess you could just stay here. Like, well, just don't come near my site then. You're staying in Korea, but it's fine. What was the first game you ever cast in OGN DoA?
The first game wasn't the first game that we
Busan.
casted also Flame's first game in down in Busan. Yeah, that's right. It was and I remember being just absolutely terrified because I had studied League for like a month, and I mean like really, really hardcore wake up, play for 4 or 5 hours, memorize abilities for like 3 or 4 hours, watch VODs for like 2 hours, and I did this like 7 days a week for a month to get ready.
Yeah, it's called the Brian Krasnick's workout. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. It got me probably to about the same place in solo queue. But, and then like I met Monte like in the train station to go down to Busan to do this too. So we kind of like got to know each other on the train going down there. And then I'm pretty sure our first game was what? It was Najin Sword versus CJ Blaze?
Azubu Blaze. And it wasn't, that was the second day. The first one was Zenix Storm versus Azubu Frost.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. I almost remembered it. I remember.
Yeah, it was that first weekend.
Yeah.
Who was on Zenix Storm at that time? I'm going to look.
They had a decent team at the time. Wasn't that the one where they still had like Impact?
I'm trying to figure out because they may have changed to Team OP like partway through that season.
I had only seen one match of League of Legends in person before that too, which was the Najin Sword versus CJ Blaze one to decide who went to Season 2 Worlds, which is a pretty crazy best of 5.
Regional.
Yeah, that's right.
AKA the death of Reaper as a Blaze player. See, I look on it less favourably than you, DoA. I have kind of a bit of bitterness in the back of my voice there,
Well, see, that was my introduction, essentially, to, like, competitive League, because before that, the only time I'd ever watched League in person is just, like, a little bit at IPL stuff.
Yeah, they became Team OP later on. They switched sponsors in that tournament. It was Corn Salad's team, and many reasons.
Oh, yeah, Corn Salad. Yep. The only thing I remember about him, though, is that mid-master Yi game. That's the APE. That's the only Corn Salad memory that will ever be retained.
Sadly, they actually had a really underrated player on that team, which was that guy SBS, who was very good at AD carry, but he is like, no one remembers him anymore, mate. Because unfortunately, no one watched Season 2 because they didn't used to have English commentary until the season you guys came along, obviously. So,
well, they did. They had English commentary. It was,
but I mean, there's no VODs that exist.
Yeah. Oh, those.
So if you remember, they were actually hosted on that OGN LOL site that doesn't.
Yeah, there's like a really weird website situation with that too.
I mean, the VODs don't exist in English; they do exist in Korean.
Which again wouldn't help people who want to learn English. So, when you first met DoA, Monte, everyone, when they first meet people, they have preconceptions or they take, they try to gauge a sense of someone. What did you actually think of DoA when you met him?
What did I think about DoA? I thought he was great.
That's bullshit. That's the worst answer I've ever heard. I think he is great. I can't wait to work with him. No, what did you actually think of him?
I had seen him casting StarCraft because I was a GOM TV subscriber.
Okay.
And had watched GSL and that kind of stuff, so I knew he was a good caster. I had seen him do stuff with
StarCraft, he was the color guy, so did you think he would have good knowledge about League?
Well, considering he had been only working on it for a month and I had been doing it for years, I didn't think that he would have the best knowledge of League immediately. No, but that wasn't what was expected.
I mean, when we were talking at OGN about getting another league caster, I asked OGN to just, I'm like, I need an expert. I can't be the expert for League of Legends. I want to do play-by-play. So I was telling OGN that we needed to bring an analyst out specifically. So I'm glad they did, because I had no interest at all to continue doing analysis. I never really wanted to do it in StarCraft either, but I kind of just kept being put in that position. So I did the best I could, but I was always much happier being play-by-play.
What do you think the secret is to the DoA Monte Cristo synergy DoA?
I think it's just having such a big dichotomy, right? Like a big difference in styles, and I don't know. I mean, it's the whole like opposites attract thing, maybe. But I kind of see it a little bit as it's kind of similar to like Mythbusters, right? Where you've got like Jamie and Adam, and obviously like if you put these two like on a desert island together where there was no other human beings, one of them would probably kill the other before too long. And just like in Mythbusters, I put my bet on Jamie. I'd probably like put my bets on Monte in that situation as well too. But you work really well together, and you know you can tell they're friends too. But they kind of balance each other out, right? I mean, I say a lot of like silly, dumb things and like keep the hype and stuff like that. And Monte says a lot of analytical things, and I try to like take some of it if it's maybe like too in depth and kind of break it down so a more casual fan can understand it. And I think it just works really well. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, and I like how I think that it works because sometimes I get too serious and DoA is very spontaneously funny, so he can direct the conversation into a more lighthearted, entertaining tone. And I can't really do that by myself. So
I think from what I've seen of the OGN games, you have almost a slightly unfair advantage in terms of your duo. That in general, it seems like the Korean games, it's like you can kind of roughly tell when something's going to happen next, and people don't just it's not like China, for example, where things just inexplicably happen and the observer can't even keep up. So as a result, it always felt like it became more obvious as to when in the routine there would be some downtime that you could make jokes or you could fill time, and then knowing when to cut it off and go back into the action. You know, it seemed like the script is a little bit more set out in that sense. What do you think, Doa?
Yeah, I think I think the Korean games are generally more structured that way. You can kind of tell what the teams are going to do stylistically. Each team seems to have a distinct style that doesn't really change much week to week. But I was going to say something and I totally forgot what it was. Oh, I think another like edge you have casting Korean esports is that the players don't really get to represent themselves because of the language barrier. You hear their interviews like translate and things like that, but you don't really get as much of a sense of the personalities. So we get to sort of like create and imprint personalities on these players based on how they play. And then that can be really entertaining, you know, like you can make the immortal score and stuff like that. And so you can kind of like, it's fun to like kind of build these stories around the players because they're just not able to build it themselves through like English language interviews like you see in EU LCS and NALCS. And sometimes, you know, you can kind of build something that's a bit more entertaining maybe than the player actually is. So it's I think it's kind of a fun, unique thing to get to do in the region too.
Which ones do you think are your best ones? What's your best ones that you've come up with in terms of like a nickname or a weird person? Like for example, what's one where the player himself probably doesn't even know this, but he's got some like joke personality that you've built in there that is referenced every broadcast or something? Is the one that comes to mind?
I mean, the one that springs to mind immediately, and I think this is probably picked up on later on by the Korean fans, but like Ryu always just looking incredibly sad all the time. Like even before the Faker duel, you know, we called him like the Eeyore of Korean esports because like no matter what happened, he always just looked kind of depressed and stuff. So
that's
stuff like that.
Before he went to Europe though and started just balling out and pimping.
That's right. Now he's like living large.
I know. You know, that was the saddest thing, Monty. I've just realised it. Since, I mean, apparently it's not. I guess in theory it would be possible for casting to end up with Ryu again, but it seems based on what happened in terms of the TSM thing and what's going on with the moves I've heard about, maybe he won't be on H2K again. You know, the sad thing is, this is how selfish I am, Monty. When I heard about him leaving, I didn't think, oh no, H2K's lost their best support. I didn't think, oh, this will be interesting. How will TSM? I just thought, wait, no. now I've lost all my Ryu. Really? Ryu did that? So I've lost them all. He was the access money, because remember, Ryu doesn't speak really good English, so I needed the vehicle of Kasing telling me the things Ryu did. That was the flaw in the system. I didn't realize it. Now who's going to tell me all the things that Ryu does?
We'll have to find another spy on Ryu's new team.
I hope he comes back to Korea. I want to see him on, I don't know what team.
I don't think he's going to come back to Korea, though.
I don't either. I mean, he's got that sick EU life now, so.
The sick thing is, at that LCK summer final, when they were interviewing him and it said like below on the like scorecard thing or whatever below, like H2K Ryu, I'm pretty sure most Korean fans are like, oh, he still plays. Oh, that's cool. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Still dying to this day.
They had no clue. Oh, I thought he retired.
The Sunday interview about Ryu was hilarious at that finals too. About Ryu just continuously being dying ever since the Faker tour. So like Ryu, who is still dying today, is like something that will always stand out for me about like Ryu's career. Like wherever he goes, he's still dying in that Faker duel.
I've noticed, Monte, in most casting duos, even if in theory, like in your case, you're supposed to be like more of a hard line of like one's like play-by-play, one's color, etc. Whereas now, you notice a lot of the casting duos are a bit more like hybrid in esports. But do you have a general pattern? Like, for example, if you're talking and the action starts and you were vaguely thought, do you do a little bit of play-by-play? Is that generally what you think in your mind, or do you try to cut off and let go?
Yeah. It just depends. Like, it just depends on the situation. Okay. Sometimes I do play-by-play. I mean, I am doing play-by-play with Baba Smithy right now to a certain degree, in as much as my voice could handle it at that time. So, which was not a lot. I couldn't really get loud because I was casting like 8 best of 3s a week, so I didn't want to destroy my voice.
Monte's got some play-by-play chops.
Do you know what here's the thing though, DoA. It would have sucked if Monte had been talking when the Ryu Faker duel had happened.
Yeah.
Because the problem is Monte's initial reaction, especially for stuff, it's just like, oh, and then he tries to build something. So he wouldn't have the same back and forth on the moves on that,
I mean, I think, looking back on it, obviously Faker was so far ahead in that game and all that. If you really look at the state of the game itself, it's not as surprising that
screw this DoA guy. He's literally turned into a Redditor, talking down the best player. It was right to my head.
It was good, but I think part of what made it so amazing to me was that I just didn't know the game as well at that point. I mean, that whole series was so exciting. So it was a combination of me not knowing things quite as well, and also just the whole series being amazing up to that one moment that just made my mind explode when I saw that, because it was a great play.
Yeah, it was a great. Well, I mean, that principle is why TSM fans really love TSM. It's the same principle at work there. I understand it. Listen, I can't
building. We've got double lift now.
Yeah, I can't go back to that state of ignorance, so I can't understand the bliss that they're experiencing. But I accept that they are experiencing it in their own minds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would never be as condescending to tell someone. If someone tells me I'm Napoleon, I go, I'm sure you believe that. I'm absolutely sure of it. But get your pointy hat the fuck out of this place and know you're not the king of France.
I'd like to think
whatever.
I'd like to think now that I know a decent amount about the game strategically. I wouldn't want to solo cast again, and I wouldn't want to be an analyst, but I feel like I kind of know the gist of what's going on each game, and that's kind of what I've focused on too, is at least being able to get the basic framework strategically, because I need to at least understand that to be able to ask intelligent questions to Monte. So I feel like I've at least achieved that level.
What do you think the best team for you to cast has been in OGN? Which one gives good room for jokes, but also is fun to do the play-by-play of? Who's the one that if they're playing, it's going to be a good game?
I think for me this last season anyway, because it changes season to season, of course. But this last season, I think Najin was a lot of fun. KT was a lot of fun. CJ was a lot of fun. I mean, I love SK Telecom, but their games are just kind of so one-sided that there's not enough room for excitement and things like that. But CJ Coco was really, really fun to watch, because obviously there was moments of big excitement because he's a great player, and then there's also you can make space prison jokes and things like that. Mad life is in the game. So
unfortunately I've realized that is actually a flaw of League of Legends as a game, which is that if you are too good, especially if your team is very good strategically. So it's one thing if you're like Samsung White, you can almost enjoy them wrecking someone just because it will be so brutal as well. So you can almost take a pleasure in like how much they'll stomp someone. But actually, the SK Telecom teams, both of the World Championship ones, some of their games weren't that entertaining that they won, just because unfortunately with the way League works, with the way you can snowball in the game, it means that you do get so far ahead that like even the plays you're making, it's like, well, the person's so far ahead and like they did catch them perfectly out, and there wasn't really a battle there. Whereas unfortunately in traditional sports and in other esports games, so for example Counter-Strike, you are resetting every few rounds. So again, if you do something amazing 3 rounds later, you are both on even ground again. And obviously in real life sports, technically you're on even ground at all points in time. You know, like, yeah, the score could be crazy, but to do an incredible move still takes the equal amount of effort. You don't, I mean, in real life, you don't snowball up your abilities as the game goes on. And at the end of an NFL game, a guy can't run like 700 miles an hour and like have like resistance to people tackling him, you know.
Like
so in a weird way,
back and stuff, yeah.
in a weird way, if you are too good and too strategically good, it almost does decrease the level of how good the game is to watch.
That's totally true. I mean, if we're talking about sheer entertainment value. So
but
yeah.
My job is to make it entertaining, and make sure people know how it's so good, right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's true. But you need kills to survive, which sounds oxymoronic, but it's true. Like, I mean, there needs to be points of excitement.
Okay.
And although you love those strategic games where like no one ever dies and it's just like playing chess and stuff like that, I think the average fan wants it to get a bit bloody, wants some action. So
sounds
you're
like,
right. I mean, if the teams get too good, the game gets weirdly slow, I think.
that sounds like the sort of mantra that DoA gives to his troops in a post-apocalyptic world when they're foraging out to find supplies. He goes, "You need kills to survive. Keep your man near you. If you see him go down, you leave him behind. We don't have time for that shit in this world." Like that's basically how it would go down.
That's right. That's how I'd lead us all against the machine army. Because that's the post-apocalyptic future I see is like one where
it's
like
always
robots.
Terminator, right? It's always Terminator.
Yeah, much more Terminator, much less Matrix.
DoA, if Monte was in the Matrix and he got offered the chance to leave the Matrix and he left briefly, do you think he would do like a Cypher heel turn and just go back into the Matrix so that he could have the aesthetic world like he imagined?
Oh, yeah. Well, one of two things would happen here. Either yes immediately because he's like, I need my fine clothes and sunglasses, because sunglasses don't appear to exist in real world, or he'd get out and he'd be like, everything is so vintage. And he'd be really excited. It's all like old technology and everything's kind of rusty and beat up. And he's like, I could put this as the side cabinet in my room. This would look lovely here. So it could really go either way. It's hard to predict.
No, I like that because you've gone 2 ways there, DoA. First of all, I'm going to take it further. When you said that he would have gotten out earlier or whatever, I'm imagining that, you know that scene like, all I'm offering you is a choice. You take the blue pill. You'd be like, yep, blue pill it isn't. See you tomorrow. Listen, they're like, what do you mean? No, you're a slave. You're in a system. You have to work in this job. He's like, yes, people have to work hard in life. When they work hard, they accomplish things. I enjoy this system we created, capitalism. This is the world I live in. And they're like,
are taking great care of us.
But wait, the red pill, you can free your mind and find out about the nightmare. I'm like, no, thank you. I don't do drugs. Wink, wink. There we go. See what I did there, Monty? I'm playing it up for you. I'm trying to keep Riot on your side, Monty. So I'm doing the best I can here.
It's admirable.
What do you think, Monty? If you had to put DoA into a sci-fi fantasy movie scenario, which one would you pick?
I have no idea. Well, if I had to put him into one?
Yeah.
What would I fit best in?
No, that's not what he asked.
Oh. All right.
He did not. What would you fit best in? What would I put you in?
Oh, okay.
That's a tough one. What was that? I'm trying to remember that movie with the.
Who was in it?
I'm trying to remember. So it was the one with the spaceship that was going to fix the sun. They had
Sunshine.
Yeah, that one.
I don't want to be in that one.
Why would he be in that one?
No, you said why would he be in that one? You said
because it just sucks. Because
no, for my amusement. Because him in that particular situation, trying to fix the sun with nuclear bombs and on a dangerous mission, would be absolutely hilarious.
Okay.
I'd be just like, screw it. We're just gonna fly this thing into the sun. Sun will make the bombs explode. GG.
I just feel like DoA in any sort of confined space, high stress situation would really just bring out the best.
I'd be like the guy where you go into the cell and there'd be just like crazy, like disturbing art scrawled into the walls by your fingernails and all that. That'd probably be
No,
me.
I don't think so. I think you'd be cheering up everybody and trying to keep people together. And
Oh, I thought you were
positive.
talking like solitary confinement here.
No.
Oh, yeah. We'd all have a great time.
See, I would be kind, DoA. What I would do is I would recreate Back to the Future 1, but instead of going, here's the thing, here's the genius, DoA. Because we're now in 2015, I would send you back to 1985, which is obviously where you've always dreamed of actually being, and you would actually fit in there, and you would know all the cultural references, and you would actually be able to get along really well. You'd have the run of the town, mate. You'd know what movies are going to come out in the next 2 years. You'd be able to talk to all the girls there. You'd be able to work at a diner or something. Well, no, wait,
diner?
I've got it wrong.
What kind
Diners
of
the
1985
1955.
is
Yeah,
this?
that's the thing. What you would work at is you'd work at like a game shack, and you'd sell like NES games or something. You'd be like, you every now and then you'd do the same thing as he did there. You'd go on like Duck Hunt and you'd show all the kids like, oh look at these 6 skills, because you'd have unfair advantage because you'd
I
have
just beat 'em
hand-eye
all.
coordination from now, whereas they're just little scrub kids playing, and you'd be like, oh. The problem is though, people would also think you're a liar because you'd tell them like what happens in Super Mario 3 and they'd be like, no, that's bullshit, man. There's no way that happened. What do you think about this reality, DoA?
I'd be like, guys, be careful because in about 20 years, Star Wars is going to be ruined. So enjoy it while it lasts. I'd be like, I'd just go on the street corner and instead of having one of those repent signs, I'd be like, look out for Jar Jar Binks.
Okay, yeah. Jar Jar is coming.
That's right, Jar Jar is coming.
Prequels are nigh.
Mm-hmm.
Repent your ways.
Well,
And
it's
watch
just
the holiday special.
it's just like the whole thing about the Star Wars movies is like they're going to be releasing like one movie a year from now until the end of time. So it's pretty much just going to suck eventually because there's going to be so much redundancy that it'll be absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I disagree on this point because I think that it's
Okay.
I like that they're finally opening up the Star Wars universe and giving like more people a chance to make movies and stuff like that. Because I think there's a lot there, and I think there's a lot of talented filmmakers out there that hopefully will be able to make good stuff. It might be terrible, but
I think you should just make some new fucking shit, man. Why do we
I'm
have to
looking
have
forward to the Adam
50
Sandler
movies
Star
of
Wars.
we can do both. We can do both.
No, we can't. That's the problem
can.
with Hollywood is that the money goes into Star Wars and it doesn't go into other places.
We can do both, but they won't do both. That's the problem is that they won't. They could, but they won't. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
See, I'm looking forward to Adam Sandler's Star Wars,
Oh,
and I
geez.
want to see Judd Apatow's Star Wars, and then I want to see
I wanna
Woody
see-
Allen's Star Wars. That was one I'd watch.
I want to see Michael Cera Star Wars for the full awkward experience.
God.
I want him to be a Jedi.
That's
not gonna
probably the
happen.
worst thing you've ever said, Monty. On all levels. That's worse than Jar Jar. That's worse. Seth Rogen Star Wars. The levels it can go to. You know the
It's still
genius
Star
Monty
Wars,
is.
guys. It's coming.
Here's the thing: if you really want to fuck with DoA, here's what you do. You just said there's going to be all these movies. He's saying, oh, let's take that recording, Monty, where he said it's wonderful. They've opened up the universe. They're giving our people a chance to. Okay, I agree. Are you ready, Monty? Let's get on board with me on this one. I think we should give UA Ball a chance to make a Star Wars movie.
No.
There we go, DoA. Oh, what do you mean? We're opening the universe. Let's see what he can do with all the toys.
I mean, I will say that like he's the only one that could create something as entertaining in an awful sort of way as the holiday special was. So I would be kind of morbidly curious to see the result, honestly. But because if you've seen Dungeon Siege or In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege tale, Tom Selleck as the king and like Ray Liotta as an evil wizard, it's really like on another level. It's worth a watch, but drink a lot before you watch it. And of course, I mean a lot of milk and other healthy beverages. But no,
Unless you
actually,
are lactose intolerant. How dare you? Check your privilege, DoA. So, okay. When you've been doing casting and you've been doing you've done hundreds of OGN games at this point in time, DoA. What do you think? Is there any weird moment where Monty's just gone off the reservation completely? Has he ever had like too much cold medicine before a cast, or has he ever come in and been, well, God forbid, hungover and he couldn't get through, or has his voice ever just gone out mid cast? Is there any ridiculous shit like that's gone down?
Not really, honestly, that I can remember. I don't. I mean, there's always days like there's days every year.
What about that
basically, where
time
one of
that he
us are-
thought Shy stole a Baron with Senpai Games?
Well, We weren't going to bring that up, but I don't know.
Thanks a lot, Thorin.
I really appreciate the support of my co-caster there in that moment.
Okay. He did back you up. He backed you up 100% on that. He was like, "Listen, I'm a ride or die gentleman, and I go down with my homies."
Well, it's important to never like totally call out your co-caster and be like, "You're wrong." You know, it's important not to do that. So I really appreciate taking it to the next level and totally getting on board with the Sunfire Cape stealing Baron thing. It's theoretically, is that even possible? Could Sunfire Cape even hit Marin? It is, right? Yeah.
The part that killed me was that you even watched the replay and still said the same things.
I know.
That was the worst part. If you'd just not been a replay, it'd be okay.
On the screen, you know.
It was good. I don't know. I like it. It still tickles me the right way about it. I'm just glad that exists. You know.
I'm so happy for you right now.
Me too.
You have to realize, Monty, in Islamic art, there's actually a concept where a lot of it's symmetrical, but they have to make an error in a certain part. And it's to show that man can never be as perfect as Allah, which doesn't make any sense because logically you're saying I could make this look really good, but I will not do it. Therefore, you're actually in some ways invalidating what you're saying. But let's look past that obvious oversight for a second. Secondly, if you actually were to have a look on a microscopic level, no line could ever be perfectly straight anyway. So again, it's almost like that's come from an era where the scientific aspect hasn't really been understood correctly, you know. But beside that, the point I was going to make was, Monty, in showing your massive deficiency and imperfection in that sense, we've ensured you will never be killed by Islamic fundamentalists so as to prove that you're not perfect as a caster. So there's a good side to it, Monty. There's a good side.
Yeah. Great. I'm glad that
I'm about as far from that dangerous.
I've got that monkey off my back.
See, I've spun it the right way. Okay, I've given it a good ending there. What about you, DoA? Have you ever done a crazy bad call in a game that was like?
Oh no, never. No.
Is there any?
Of course.
There must be one that comes to mind, like one where it's just like you got the kill wrong or you said the wrong name ridiculously or something.
Well, let's talk about something that doesn't happen like weekly. Okay. But it's I was doing a Hearthstone event once where I don't know, I was like super jet lagged because it was one of those you fly in and then you cast the next day kind of things, but at least that's my excuse anyway. But I thought it was the last game, and I'm like, this guy's going to BlizzCon, and there's like one more game, and the other caster's like,
That's good. That's good.
I'm like, let me just take a nap under the desk for the next one, guys.
That's like in the
UFC. A live crowd too. That was the best part.
You randomly yelled GG and like.
Oh yeah, that was good. That's good because in the UFC, right, the guy who's the play-by-play caster in the UFC actually has a catchphrase for when the fight ends. He says, "And it's all over." And he actually pulled the trigger too fast once, where someone was in like a choke and they just got out of it, and he'd already said it, and obviously the fight just went on there, so it was mad awkward. So I like that.
It happens to everyone though. Like I mean, you can't be a caster and not have that stuff happen. You just have to laugh about it, you know, because you just look like a huge idiot and there's nothing you can ever do to change that.
I mean, when you're talking that much, you're obviously going to say some stuff that goes off, or it just goes down the wrong kind of pipe in your brain and comes out the wrong way, you know, where you meant to say one name, you say the other. There was actually an example at this last CSGO tournament I did the other weekend where the guy interviewing someone on the stage literally said, so you just, earlier in the tournament, you 16-0'd your opponent.
Oh, I saw that.
And the player just went, no, I didn't. And he went, okay then, please tell me what you did do. Which is like, that's almost a save, but that's not really at the same time because it looks even worse. Like, I'd just be like, okay, moving on. But instead it was like, well, what did you do then? It's like, do you need to be here? Like, okay.
You gotta just move on. You can't dwell on that stuff. Yeah, it happens. I've
noticed in general that even if you're burning players, you don't tend to actually burn each other that much. Is there like an unwritten rule there? Is there some agreement in terms of the boundaries, Monty?
No, I think we make fun of each other plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you do it in like an area where you know it's safe. You know that a burn never gets too toxic.
Is that what you go for on CS desks?
What are you talking about? I go mental on people on CS desks. Mate, Anders once said to me, like, oh, I just had a sense in a little voice in my head told me this, and I said, Anders, is that the voice that tells you not to kill yourself? If so, don't always listen to that voice. So yeah, there is no limit, mate. But anyway, bringing it back to you.
I mean, it's. I think part of it is during
an actual. When you're casting.
Yeah, totally. Because you want it to be about the players. It's about the players. It's not about you. So you can like I feel like you can go a little bit into it, but if you go too far, you make it too much about the casters, and where it should be more about the players.
I mean, I think that when you're casting, you're not really going to go into each other. Not like, I mean, I prefer to be on the analyst desk for that kind of stuff because I have a lot of fun doing that too. So it's just a difference in medium, right? Where the analyst desk gives you more room for banter because you are more of the entertainment on the analyst desk, whereas the actual game itself, you're not trying to distract in that way.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of just pure comedy of errors, either of you can answer this. Who do you think is the most ridiculous player you've watched in OGN? Like, just made the idiotic moves all the time, or just tried to do the right thing, but just fucked it up every time? Who would be a good candidate for this, Monte?
OQ is pretty fantastic for that because he's also a good player a lot of the time. So seeing him make mistakes or stretch out games by another 6 minutes just because he decides to randomly die is pretty damn funny.
I think for me, it would be just the utter despair and hopelessness of Long Panda. Like, the guy just, no matter how hard he tried, he would just always be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And he'd always like make every mistake you could think of at the worst moment, he would make it. And it's just, and he wasn't a good player. So it was just a comedy of sadness.
That was the genius of him trying to meme and do the Death Note thing. It's like, mate,
yeah,
if I look in there, is it just going to be your name written 700 times? Are you retarded or something? Like, you've never done a single good play ever. How are you making Death Notes on other people? Whose career are you ending, Long Panda? Aside from, I would have made a joke, everyone on your team, but most of the players on that team went on to better things without you. Like, you were just a terrible player, weren't you?
He gave them all of his
name.
strength.
That's such a good name as well, Long Panda. It just means nothing. What does that even mean?
Sounds kind of goofy. I don't know. And that adds to the whole thing, right? Is that he's got kind of like a goofy, ambiguous name too. So he's legendary, but like not in like a good way. We didn't give out the Long Panda Award last season though. Did we?
Why didn't you do that, Monte?
No, we did.
We did? Who did we give it to?
Who was it? I'm trying to. I think it was Spenu's top laner.
Oh, yeah. I can't even remember his name because that's kind of how Spenu was. But I know who you're talking about. Because it was a big moment when like someone challenged LiLac for the throne this year, right?
Right. So, of course. So yeah. I mean, Spenu's even switched up their top laner. So it was Sol was their top laner at the time, but now they switched over to Soar.
Yeah, Sol was not inspiring.
See, there's one thing that did run throughout your whole careers as OGN casters is LiLac was always there. He was always there in the background. He was there playing different positions. He evolved. I mean, technically he did evolve, Monte, because as I always mention, evolving doesn't mean he got better necessarily. It just means things change. That's all that matters, okay? Things change. We try to survive. And that's what he was. LiLac was a survivor. He should literally have a status like, I survived OGN, whatever, 6th season or something, because that's all he did, basically.
Maybe all of them, who knows?
If you could go back in time, DoA, and tell LiLac something in late season 2, what key piece of information would you tell him?
I'd probably tell him that people call you the professor, right? So maybe you should sit back and just teach. Just be a coach.
That's brilliant. He literally is going to tell him. He's literally going to tell LiLac, LiLac, those who can't teach. Like, he's literally going to go back and just blast this guy right in his prime.
It's for your own good, LiLac. No, but I mean, you have to admire the guy for sticking around and playing a bunch of roles. And to LiLac's credit, I mean, he played those roles well enough to be on a pro team in Korea. And although this pro team may not have been SK Telecom, I mean, not a lot of, I can't think of any other player that's like been able to maintain that level, or at least barely maintain that level across multiple roles, across multiple years. Like, it really is an impressive career in certain ways, but it is surprising too that he's been able to maintain those starting spots, given that he's never really been huge, for a while. Hugely impactful.
What about space, Monte? If I went back to the beginning of OGN and I said, Monte, you see this space guy? Don't worry, he actually gets to play with Mad Life for a few years, and they just never kick him. He actually leaves out a choice at the end. He's just like, you know what, guys, screw this, I'm out of here myself. And they're like, wait a minute, what? You're supposed to be the one person who can never be removed. Like, I'm removing myself, see ya.
I mean, I think Space. I think it's interesting that he's going. I have no idea what Ghost's capabilities are, so it's hard for me to actually judge the move at the current time.
How can that even be real? So they removed a guy called Space and replaced him with Ghost. Is reality like worse than fiction? Is it just like not even really good writers behind this shit? What's going on here? Also, at this point, the only way it would be better, Monty, is if now Space went and joined Team Coast. There's the only way you can make the scenario even more ridiculous, right?
Well, that would be actually perfect.
I hope Wraith replaces Mad Life on CJ now, so we've got the Ghost Wraith bot lane. There's so many jokes you can make about that. If they're bad, it's like they don't exist.
I just wish that Mad Life had left and Ghost was a support player. Like that would have been the most perfect. But yes, I do agree that Space going to Coast would be fucking hilarious.
It would be ridiculous.
The best part is, these Koreans don't even know about Space Ghost at all. No, they have no idea.
It's completely wasted on them. The genius of that ridiculous meta storyline behind all of that.
It reminds me of when I was trying to, because you do you do find yourself in positions where you're trying to like explain this stuff to the Korean players, like the stuff that they see like on Reddit or something. They're like Coco is like, what's this like, I'm in love with the Coco song everyone's like telling me about, like that kind of stuff. Or what the whole like Crushed Hearts and Broken Dreams thing, when I got like Faker to do it, because I was like, all right, Faker, I want to take a picture of these. Like, he's like, okay, and he does his like Faker duck face thing, is like this, which he does for every photo, and I'm like, all right, now put your hand up, do this, and he's like, okay. I'm like, no, put it closer to your eye, and he's like looking really confused, and I'm like, no, just do it. I never really did explain why, but yeah, I got the picture.
I think that should be classed as some sort of like a war crime against humanity, that you wasted the time of the greatest player ever to do a meme of a crap guy, Loco Doco, who's like once was a good player a long time ago, and at that point was like a vaguely relevant Western coach. Like Faker, I imagine Faker just being like, what was that all about? And the translator just being like, don't even waste your time telling him. Like, it's not necessary for you to know this.
I just booked it out of that booth in a hurry. I was like, thanks, Faker. I got what I wanted. Good luck. If
you had to take a player from back in time, Monty, at the beginning of OGN, and bring him to now, obviously the skills would have to be different. You'd have to train up in the modern environment, but who would be the most exciting player to bring to now?
Who's no longer with any team?
Just anyone. You can go back in time and get him. And we're going to dazzle the fans with what he would be able to do.
And these days, I don't know if it's exactly correlated one-to-one like that. In the Korea, like, because there's so much that's changed about the game, right? It'd be nice, for example, if Mach Noon had been able to stay at that really dominant level, and we would have been able to see his play kind of at that point again. But, what are you going to do about that?
I think Mach Noon's a real obvious choice. I'd bring back Ring Troll, because like that guy.
Corn Salad was also very good.
Who?
Corn Salad.
Oh yeah, Corn Salad. But Ring Troll, Corn Salad was fun, but like Ring Troll brings the out of game mystique with his like luscious locks, and the in game, like he was doing insect kicks before insect, right? So this is Ring Troll just had if we could have like someone who played jungle to the effectiveness that he played it, and had like that crazy like out of game characteristic as well too, that'd be nice. That'd be fun.
The irony being, we were just talking about LiLac. Essentially what triggered that whole LiLac swapping thing was when they got rid of Ring Troll after that like curfew incident. And of course the true irony is, in many ways, Incredible Miracle stayed out too long in that OGN. They should have really packed that in themselves and gone to bed many years ago. So they just ended up, you become what you hate, Monty. That's what you've learned. That's why you're becoming more like me, my friend.
Because I really hate you. That's how it is.
Maybe. I don't know.
This whole Ring Troll thing was just hilarious too. Like imagining Ring Troll with his like long silky hair, like climbing out the IEM team house window to go out on these like nightly escapades and all that. It's like the women need the ring troll. You can't keep the ring troll locked up. It's just, I wish I could have been there to see how this all went down at the team house.
Now that it's years later, Monty, I usually think if enough years pass and certain people aren't in those situations anymore, it's not that bad if you then reveal like something that went on in behind the scenes, like someone was going to join a team or there was like discontent between two players. As long as enough years pass that it won't really affect anyone, I think it's okay to do so. Is there anything like that you can think of over the years in OGN that would be interesting now, just as a tidbit?
Discontent between players or teams?
Well, I mean, sometimes... Okay, I'll give you an example. So, in Season 4, when everyone used to see those Samsung White teams constantly finish third in OGN, and you'd look and you'd go, on paper, they should be beating Blue, they should be the best team in the league, but they're not. Yeah, everyone now will be like, well, of course, but they eventually got it together and won Worlds. I mean, the kind of rumor behind the scenes was there was just mad discontent in the team, right? Certain players maybe didn't get along with each other, or
that team really didn't like each other, from my understanding. Like, they played together, but they weren't exactly friends. They just happened to have good in-game synergy.
I mean, wasn't it even kind of suggested that it almost didn't matter what happened at Worlds? Because at the time, no one knew that China would come with those sick offers. So the storylines were went both ways, as I remember. Like, on one hand, if they won Worlds, great. Then they were going to retire because they'd have won Worlds. And if they lost Worlds, they'd be like, well, fuck it, we lost Worlds, I'm retiring. So actually, in a way, China might have extended their careers, right?
I think they probably would have kept playing, at least some of them, no matter what. But yeah, I think that perhaps retirement was on the table for some of the Samsung White players. I think that's not unfair to say. But yeah, it's not really too much of a secret that they didn't really get along as individuals, from my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the whole friendship, I think that it's important to have a peaceful environment within the team, but the whole friendship is everything is bullshit. Like, you don't have to be friends in order to work together, and that obviously that's been proven by many, many sports teams throughout history.
I mean, that's like a very youthful view on things too, right? That you need to be friends to make things work like that. Because when you become an adult, spoiler alert, no matter what your job is, you obviously have to work and function and cooperate with people that you don't like. So to be like, oh, they must be friends, otherwise their team isn't going to work. It's not quite how the world is, you know.
It's also one of those scenarios where people just take such a singular view on it. Like, they look at it like it's always going to be positive. So, for example, there obviously are examples where players did get along and were friends and were really good in game, and as a third thing, had good in-game synergy, and so it's the ultimate package, you know. But it can go the other way. So, for example, sometimes you have a player where they're obviously friends with this player, and his level's dropped off, but they keep him in the team too long because they're friends with him. So it's definitely not universally positive in that particular respect, you know. It's a bit like a good example. I'll give you an analogy that goes along with this. So another thing people always will cite as overwhelmingly positive is they'll say, oh, if you're the home team and you're playing an esports event, you know, let's say it's in France and you're a French player, you know, obviously the crowd cheering will pump you up. Sure, for certain types of personalities, and if they're doing well in the game, that will help. But for example, some sorts of personalities, that might make them have more pressure and they might choke more, the fact they're listening. So it can definitely go both ways on that aspect, you know. And it's kind of naive to think that everyone should be friends, everyone would want to play in front of a home crowd. There's a lot of things like that just life itself doesn't really work that way, does it? There's a bit of nuance to it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but you can't expect all the fans to understand that. And there's nothing wrong with someone who's younger thinking that way, just because pretty much everybody does, right? So
imagine this. So on this exact topic, like the youthful folly. So Monty's always so strict about that particular age. He always says, you shouldn't be a coach unless you're 25 years old. That makes me think that something epic happened when Monty was 25 that turned him from a fuck-up into a respectable member of society. So what I want to imagine is what would happen if Monty, aged 23, was a caster in Korea. Now, I imagine week to week, he would, his personality would be shifting. He'd be coming in with a beret on one week, and he'd come in the next day with a handlebar mustache. He'd be trying all gimmicks and affectations on, What do you think, DoA? What would a young Monty be like as a caster?
I think he'd party pretty hard if I had to make any guesses. Because I mean, even when I first came to Korea, I was not in my early 20s, but Korea's like got a awesome nightlife, and when you get out here and you're like doing esports, and then people are like, all right, let's go to like this awesome bar area, of course you're gonna do it. So a lot of the younger casters that come out here, if anything, party a bit too hard. But hey, I mean, they'd be doing the same thing wherever they're from at that age anyway, so I don't know if it really changes too much.
Do you think he could have maintained the casting lifestyle if he was like that? I mean, there are obviously casters who've been in Korea who are partiers and they're into that. So can you maintain that?
Oh yeah, I think so. I didn't know him then, so I'm only making.
I mean, listen,
I'm only making guesses about Monty's past self when he's sitting right here.
Well, here's the thing.
I would wager he was a responsible and mature college student that never got in any trouble. Always did his work on time.
I'm going to go the other way on that one, DoA.
Not a minute later.
I also didn't know him back then. This is pure speculation, but I imagine Monte really drunk. More like that scene early on in Apocalypse Now, where that guy's just like breaking down in that hotel room in Saigon, and he's like smashing his own face against the mirror. It's just a real dark place, though. Like I think we're all glad that we've moved on from there. It's like it's a kinder world. Monte's sober now. Like. He's not in any way sober, but he's sober most of the time. Like when he's doing this show, I hope, and that's life now.
Well, when was the era of the longer hair for you, Monte? What period of time in your life was that?
I shaved my head at like 21. So
okay.
I had the picture of me in like the leather jacket was taken when I was 21.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
so I was 22. I was 22.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so it was around that. So we could have gotten that hair potentially on a broadcast then.
So wait a minute. Monte shaved his head when he was 21. I'm imagining he went through
22.
sort of like an American History X type phase during that period of time. You know, he really got in touch with his racial heritage and what America's all about as a country. You know.
Thanks a lot for that image.
I had to balance that out against not getting killed by the Islamic fundamentalists. So Thorin takes and he gives with the other hand.
Equilibrium is back.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Do you actually think, if nothing changes, assuming you got offered a good contract every year, would you actually be a caster, the two of you? Do you think you could both be casters in 3 years from now?
Oh yeah, why not?
Both doing Korean League of Legends, if it's still going strong, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, OGN, like the thing about OGN is that it's a very stable, it's probably the most stable place in the world for casters because it's been around for 15 years and they have had Korean casters like Jun Young Jun there for 15 years. So it's not like you can't continue to cast at OGN because they'll just move from game to game. It's not like it's the end of the world when a game changes. Yeah. So they also have plenty of content, other kind of content to do. So once you're in at OGN, we could work at OGN 10 years from now pretty easily.
It's a great company to work for too. I mean, they take better care of their casters than anywhere else I've ever been in any place I've heard of, and yeah, they're like if it's a good relationship. Obviously, it's how it should be. Where if you work hard to put on a good broadcast for them, they'll work hard to bring you opportunities. As they come up too. So yeah, it's great.
Based on what you do know about the life of Monte Cristo, which movie actor would you want to play him?
Oh man, in the Monte Cristo biopic or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's tough. Let's see. I don't know. Let's just go for Tom Cruise. Let's just do it. Why not?
I hope you mean Tom Cruise. His full-on manic in that Scientology video. That's who I'm imagining is the one playing him right now. Is that it?
Let's do it. Yeah, sure.
Let's get the lip
also add like an action sci-fi. We'll add an action sci-fi spin on it too, because it is Tom Cruise. And I don't know. Let's see. We need to do some sort of like.
The problem is, I feel like Tom Cruise couldn't pull off like the vast arrogance and like need to be the star at all times that Monte has in his life. Based on the things I've heard about Tom Cruise's life, he's just too tame in that sense.
I don't think
it takes a very special sort of egomaniac to.
That's true. I'd love to see Monte on Oprah now. See if we can make that happen. If you win that like whatever like those video game awards, if you win like influential gamer or something, maybe we can get you a spot on Oprah. So we're all pulling for you, man.
The problem with that, DoA, is that Oprah, because she's such a veteran, probably would actually do a decent job of interviewing Monte, and she'd make a good film. I'll go one better, DoA. I want to see Monte on The View. I want to see that music come on, and then he comes out, and he's with like whoever it is, like Paula Abdul and Whoopi Goldberg. God. I would love to see that. That would be an interview. So what's this esports thing all about, Monte? I would love to see that, because it just the level of first of all, he'd immediately slap on that fake caster smile and that like that like mega fake laugh he does when I'm not even going to be cruel enough to mention the casters who say it, but the ones that make the rubbish jokes that he does that to, we've all seen it. It'd be like that the whole time, and he'd be trying to put on a good face for esports. He'd be like, so what are you guys playing Nintendo in your basements? Like,
he'd like, I'd like to talk about this tie. It's called a Continental. You may not have seen it before, but I had a custom made for me, and I really wanted to wear it today to the View. And they'd be like, oh, that's really nice. Can I touch it? And he'd be like, yes, it's very soft. The button is made from real wood. So I think it'd be great.
Who do you think should play DoA in the movie of his life, Monty?
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges. Nice. Take it.
At what point in his career, though? Because obviously now, he's a respectable actor now. What era are we thinking of here, Monty?
No, like 10 years ago, definitely.
Obviously.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think Jeff Bridges.
That's just like your opinion, man.
I think Jeff Bridges is actually a super good choice for DoA.
I can see it. I like the Tron era Jeff Bridges. I mean, I like all the era Jeff Bridges, but
I don't think you're as cool as the Tron era Jeff Bridges. I'm sorry to say that, DoA. Like that guy had a lot of swagger. He was pretty cool.
He was pretty cool. Maybe someday I'll be like the grizzled. What was that Western he was in?
Oh, it was the remake of. What was it?
What was it?
True Grit.
True Grit. That's right.
True Grit. Yeah, there we go. Maybe someday I'll get to.
That would be a
like
pretty dark timeline, though, where that's what you become. that sort of a guy who just doesn't give a fuck, and it's just like, I don't know. Here's the thing: I'm not known as a very optimistic person, DoA, but I really hope that that's not in your future. Quite frankly, that's
somebody will get off some like young, fresh-faced caster will get off the plane in Korea to start working in Korean esports, and I'll like show up in the trench coat with the big beard and like to shock and be like, "You're ready to cast some esports?" Exactly. And I'll like lead him to Seoul from Incheon on a horse.
Take him past Monty's grave. Died of cirrhosis of the liver at age 39.
That's right.
By the way, Tom Cruise is a horrible choice to represent
I'm
me.
sorry. What? I don't know actors very well. I don't know. Hold on. Let me look at. Let me Google it. Let me just Google some actors.
See, here's the thing. Just because not just because I referenced the American History X one, but I actually think that Edward Norton would be good casting to do Monty. I think him or Christian Bale could pull it off.
I'm looking up.
I think Christian. Yeah, I like that. I think Robert Downey Jr. could do a good job too.
Okay, I could see it.
Too charismatic, too lovable, too amiable.
I just looked up.
You got to have that edge. You got to have that edge, but it has to be a bit harsh, a little bit unresolved,
I googled actors who played Adolf Hitler, and let's see if I can.
Let's see.
Find a few.
The problem is you're not going to find a young Adolf Hitler, are you? There's not many movies about that, believe it or not, DoA. It'd be great if there were. And he tends to be about 40 odd in most of them,
maybe a young Alec Guinness.
Okay.
Yeah. It's tough. Let's just go with Tom Cruise.
Who would play me in a movie then? Who do you think could pull me off?
Oh, jeez. Hold on. Who was Who was the guy who played the big like red-haired barbarian in Game of Thrones? Maybe that guy, if he like lost a lot of weight.
Oh, Thormund, whatever his name was, Giant Spain or some shit. Okay.
Not the giant, but like the.
No, his name was Giant Spain or something. That was his name, like Thormund Giant Spain or something, right?
Oh, well, that's sick. So right there, that's awesome. But yeah, that would work.
Tormund Giant Spain, apparently. You've only just picked him though, because he has a massive ginger beard. Like,
that's really
okay,
good.
yes,
yeah.
that's great casting though, but in terms of acting ability.
Oh, okay. In terms of acting ability.
Like, who could pull off my personality, do you think?
Let's see.
Strangely, I think Johnny Depp could pull off your personality if he wanted to.
If he went deep, if he lived with me for a few weeks and he went right into that and saw what was going on behind my mind, where I came from, what I was all about as a person.
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. You mean like full-on, coked out, winning level Charlie Sheen, right? Not like young, hot
manic
shots
intensity
Charlie
with
Sheen.
which he questions life and his surroundings.
So we're talking full-on, like 9/11 was inside job level Charlie Sheen here. That's what you're saying when you sexed it up there, like the way the intensity with which he questions life's surroundings.
There you go.
You mean full-on conspirator Charlie
critic.
Sheen, right? Yeah, you did a good job there. You talked it up. You made Charlie Sheen sound respectable. Put it that way. That's what you managed to do there, Noah. It was a good job.
No, who's the guy who played? Viggo Mortensen.
Okay.
There, because he's got a wide range.
He's too tame.
I think we're just finding out I'm really bad at this game.
You are really bad at this game.
Sorry.
I think Viggo Mortensen's too reserved. You need somebody who can go further out there. That's why Johnny Depp's a good choice.
You know, my first inclination was to say Jim Carrey. But see the guy with the beard.
I don't think I've ever been as upbeat as Jim Carrey for 5 minutes of my life as he has.
Well, I don't know.
But I don't know if he has that darkness with him, DoA. Especially now that he's into like transcendental meditation or whatever, and he's fixed his like. I hate it when people do that. It's just rubbish, mate.
So they have to. So it's not really about their acting ability. They have to be personally someone you can connect with, huh?
No, but we actually have to believe they could pull off the persona, you know.
Yeah. Hmm. I don't know. I'm obviously very bad at this game.
See, the problem is you can't even play that game with Korean League of Legends pros because we actually don't know what half of their personalities are, and they're so incredibly limited. It's like, I don't even know who you'd pick for most of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a question. DoA, if you could take one Western player right now, and the idea is, let's imagine that like tomorrow we invent the like universal translator from Star Trek, you know, where you can just talk and it automatically translates into whatever language the person. So as a result, we can take a Western player and we can put them on a Korean team. And so the idea is we're going to pick someone where the conceit is they have to be someone who would be wildly popular if the Korean fans knew this guy's personality or saw him play. Like, who would be a great pick for that?
Personality wise.
Because, I mean, if you remember when those, I mean, it was just before your time, but when those CLG teams came to Korea, actually they were really popular because everyone was like, wow, oh my God, CLG, like St. Vicious, Double Lift.
I think
what's weird is that there are different standards, right? So they don't mind so much if the foreigners are like more abrasive or trash talky, whereas they would criticize the Koreans really harshly on that same front.
That's why I would actually pick Forgiven. Because I think his like abrasive nature, like the way he is, people be like, "Oh, what a badass! Wow." The Korean fans would get into that.
That's the weird thing about Korean fans is like if you're a foreigner and you're a player, then it's totally fine to just like talk trash. Mm-hmm. And they like very aggressive players, but if a Korean player does that, they will hate them.
Do you have someone to suggest then, Monte?
No, I think Forgiven's a great choice.
Okay, then the question is if we could go reverse. Like, even though Koreans have come over, if we could take one and actually transpose everything about his personality into the West, who would actually come off really well, do you think?
GBM, which is happening.
I was going to say, yeah. I think we're going to see it. I think it's going to be GBM, yeah.
Another person that would be very popular is probably Hojin.
Okay. Is GVM actually going to be able... Do you think he will like understand that in the West he can actually, like, beyond just joking, he can trash talk and he can be super out there? Does he understand that, do you think?
We'll see.
I think so. I think he can. I think he should know that. I'll send him a message and tell him he should. I've got him on Kakao Talk.
That trash talk segment when Jin Air was going to play CJ was one of the most next level. You remember when everyone was just bodying GBM? Like, you just keep coming back to him like, why don't you like me? When it would be like ambition. And everyone was just sort of like, everyone's vibe was just like, fuck you, GBM. You suck, mate. Like, you're not even on a team anymore. It was mad, wasn't it?
It was pretty funny.
Yeah. I don't know. GBM, he's got like a really fun personality. So I hope he does well in North America. I really do. And I hope he doesn't give up the bow tie thing.
Well, I doubt he will.
He shouldn't. Yeah. One time he had me pick his bow tie for the day. He like brought a bag of bow ties to the caster desk while we were setting up, and he's like, "DoA, I want you to pick my bow tie today." And I'm like, all right. So I picked one, and then they won. And he never had me do it again. I'm just saying that like I'm 100% win rate for Jin Air when I'm picking GBM's bow tie. So something they maybe could have taken advantage of.
I think you might be the only person who took that interpretation of that situation there.
It's natural. It's a natural progression of thought.
Okay. Now we're starting to get a sense of how you divide the world up and your experiences within it.
I have great influence.
Okay, DoA, do you think Monte is good at predicting the results of games?
Yeah, I think so. I think unless KT is involved, yeah, sure.
What do you think it is with him? Explain it to me. What do you think his perverse love for KT is? Is there a level of sadomasochism in there? I feel like there's a little grain of it in there. Like he kind of knows. Here's the thing, okay? I'll give you an insight into my personality, okay, Monte. And this is real, actually. When I was a young boy and I first went to like nursery schools and went to like the early schools you go to, when you used to be in the sort of schools where you didn't actually do any learning, you just played with toys. The best toy, whatever that would be there, I would never be able to get the best toy, so I would have to settle for like the second best or like third best. So as a result, I've noticed within me there's a certain level to which, in terms of teams, I do always tend to like the team who's like the second best one, who you really hope and fingers crossed they could win, but you know that deep down they probably won't because they're not the best. Is there something going on there, Monte? Am I tapped into something here?
Sure. I mean, I love KT. I've loved KT for a long time, but the bullets were really good. It just comes down to the KT bullets and their style of play, which at the time was very innovative. And I guess I was attracted to them because they made up for a lack of star power with better team play and coordination and strategic innovation. And I really like that.
I mean, I think with Monte, it's also part of just getting more in touch with the Korean culture here, because there's a concept in Korean culture called jung, and it's kind of hard to define, but it's basically like a shared love and community, and it even extends to like a share of suffering. If you're suffering together, you have that connection. So I think Monte's really like made that cultural connection since he's come to Korea too with KT.
Okay.
It's pretty admirable.
I can see why he naturally was drawn to join CLG then, because they would obviously be the most obvious Western example of this, right? The CLG fan culture, that somehow they do retain fans, despite the horrors that they've put those people through.
You do see that in other sports organizations like the Cleveland Browns.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams. Oakland Raiders, it's a pretty good one right now.
It's true.
A lot of hurt going on over there.
Yeah. There you go. So that's the answer.
I would say Monte with the Denver Broncos, but he's in another one of those KT cycles where he now can believe again that they're going to do really well. Like, no, this new quarterback, man, I think he's going to turn things around the franchise.
I do not think that. Okay.
Okay, he believes in it. No, it's the end for Peyton Manning. I think this is the new era of the Denver Broncos.
Not really.
Buy into the Sports Center hype, Monte. Just for once in your goddamn life, buy into the hype.
I just can't. I can't really talk about football this season. Being a Packers fan, nothing good can come of it.
So what do you think, if you had to pick a sport for Monte to cast, what would be the best one you think he would be suited to cast?
I'd like to see him cast something like rugby, because I feel like he'd get really into like the machismo like aspect of it, but also the strategy. We'd all find out how like great rugby is strategically.
Maybe a slight, very, very slight twinge of homoeroticism. Hello at all? Not a lot, just a little bit. Listen, Monte, everyone needs a little spicy picante to keep things interesting, right?
That's right.
Just saying. What about DoA?
Gochu pepper. What
should we put DoA in? Which sport should he be in, Monte?
I would put him in basketball. You need that constant action to keep going.
No, that's the thing. When he did that whole the faker one, like, oh, the plays, the moves, that is sort of like, the play-by-play guy has to be like, right between the eyes, from three-point land. Erik
from downtown. I played a lot of NBA Jam, so I've already got all the catchphrases paired. He's on fire.
I was going to go a different angle, though, Monte. I was going to say WWE. I think he could do WWE.
I'd love to cast WWE. That'd be great.
I think that would work for you, though. I think you'd fit right in there. My God, that man had a family.
He's got a family.
Yeah. That would be good.
Oh man, I'd love to cast WWE. That would be so much fun. There's not a lot of, non-esports things that I've thought about commentating, but stuff like I think WWE would be great.
If Monte was a WWE character, what style of character do you think he'd be, and what would his finishing move be?
I don't know what you think about WWE.
You want to pick one for yourself?
No,
he doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't know anything about it.
I don't really either, but I've watched funny clips on Reddit.
I don't mean the actual wrestler. He would be like, what style of? How would we put his character into a wrestling character? Do you think?
Businessman type. Probably.
Businessman. Just okay. A businessman type. So he just comes out. It's like Mr. Square.
He's got these.
It's like, listen, you
right
kids.
Now, so the gambler.
Cut your hair. Cut your hair, do your homework, get your degree. This is business. It's real fucking life. You kids out there, you wrestling jerks.
Sounds like me.
Yeah. All you kids out here in Alabama, you need to get your ass to New York City, son. Get that degree. The stock market, that's where you're going to make some money. Okay, I get it. So what would his move be then? It'd probably be something like...
His move would be to hold up a phone and make a call, and then some other bigger wrestlers would come and beat someone up.
That's good. I like that. He just brings in the hired muscle. That's his wrestling finishing move. He just pays for some tag team, some massive guys to come in and just wreck the guy. Okay.
What college did you go to again, Monte? I can't remember.
Vassar.
He's like, I went to Vassar. You guys who didn't go to Vassar, come and beat these other wrestlers up with me.
But not only that, it's not even just goons. He's hiring goons that specifically went to worse colleges to come in and beat them up.
Yeah.
So essentially, he's just a member of the hierarchy of society. Essentially, he'd be called the 1%.
The 1%er, yeah, there you go.
There we go. That would be his wrestling name, right?
You just call him the win percent.
There we go, the win percent.
The win percent. Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is veering dangerously into Choster territory right now.
Top fucking percentage, exactly.
There you go.
If, as the famous Nietzsche quote goes, Monte, if you had to, a demon appeared before you, and he said that you had to live your whole life over again, every single aspect of it, the question is, would it be a horrible affair, Monte, or would it be something that you'd experience with awe? So likewise, if you think back through all of your OGN casting career, is there a key moment that you could just live within forever? This was an awesome moment where everything came together, the match was great, or the plays were great, or just the day was great upon which it happened. Is there a great moment you could pick out?
It was definitely that best of 5 between SK Telecom and the KT Bullets. That was such a great day because everything about that day was fucking crazy because it was outside and it was raining in Seoul, and it literally rained just over a tiny part of Seoul, but it was a huge downpour. And we were soaked. We were in tuxedos and we were just completely soaked through. And in game 1, it was raining so hard that they just put plastic bags over our monitors and we're trying to wipe the monitors to see what's going on.
We couldn't see the game really.
And so but it was also just my favorite best of 5 ever. So on top of that, it was just the atmosphere, and then it stopped raining and we were just wet. And it was really exciting that was the whole hashtag wet for esports. It was just such a fun day, and it was an exhilarating series, and the finals itself were amazing because of the weather and everything like that. It was just wild. It was a good time.
Yeah, I absolutely agree as far as most memorable esports day ever, because that first game, when it was pouring rain, was one of the most intense casting experiences of my life, because you've got this constant fear, am I gonna die via electrocution any second now, because it's pouring rain on all the electronics, and you've got one of the electronics stuck to your head. You're I could die at any moment. I guess if I go out, this is a good way to do it, telecom war in the grand finals, but it's but then I was wiping off the monitor trying to play by play through this fog and stuff like that, and by the end of the game I was shivering cold, all of our notes were just soaked and stuff like that. So and then the series itself was good. So yeah, that was an incredible day of esports.
I like the way you both keep referencing the rain factors, though. That added to the atmosphere of it or something.
Oh yeah.
So it's that Alanis Morissette song or something. It's rain on the final stage.
I just don't think a lot of
said
people
Bobby won't kill when you've already won.
I can't think of other other events where people have had to cast esports in pouring rain. Maybe it's happened, but I don't know about it. I hope they haven't. It was pretty miserable.
I liked it.
It was memorable. It was memorable.
So from season 2 to the end of season 4, there was always like a through line. Like a lot of the squads, in general, it was rare that a squad would completely disband all the players. Usually you'd have 1 or 2 roster moves between the top teams, but still there was a logic to it, you know, like trying to build on something they'd done the season before. But obviously with season 5, we saw the rosters get completely shaken up, like squashing the teams together. GE Tigers obviously taking loads of Najin players, teams swapping players between them. Now going into season 6, we're obviously going to have a lot of teams with entirely new rosters. Has the kind of golden age gone by, do you think? Will it always be like this, do you think, every year now, Monty? Will it just be like at the end of every split you just change everything? Not every season, rather, there'll be big changes, and it'll never be that like gradual progression, as it were.
I think it's just going to be wild from now on. There's so much money entering the scene that it's just kind of a big bidding war right now, and especially because China, you know, we thought that China would maybe not this year put down the same level of money or try and invest in these Korean players because it ended up so poorly for them at the end of last year, and their performance at Worlds was obviously shit. And like, there's no way they're getting returns off of what they're paying these players, but apparently not. Just pay Easyhoon $800,000 a year. I mean, I'm happy for Easyhoon, but it's not a sustainable way. But it just doesn't seem like the Chinese teams care about sustainability at all. It's very weird.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit maybe the fact that before there were 2 teams for each organization mitigated a little bit of the changes. Like the changes may have been bigger than they appeared because they could kind of shuffle people around within the organization more too. So you had more familiar faces, even if they were, you know, they went from like Stealths to Falcons or something like that. But yeah, I mean, with until the madness with like this Chinese Korean player import stuff stops, as long as that keeps going, it's going to be insane.
Does it bum you out at all that we don't ever get to see what would happen with the world champions in the next matches? Like we don't get to see them try and repeat. I mean, we've had this twice now where Samsung White just disappeared, and then now SK Telecom. I mean, obviously they could still play on most of the lineup, but they won't have Marin, and obviously he defined a lot of how they played to win the championship.
I mean, we saw a little bit of what can happen after season 3, right? We did see SK Telecom pretty much come back and crush the next season of champions. They didn't do terribly well after that.
Yeah, they didn't have a roster change though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was part of the question, right? Is like what would happen if the rosters didn't change? And so I feel like we saw that a little bit in season 3.
Like, does it not suck to some degree, Monty, to not get to see SK Telecom play like the next split?
Yeah, I do think it's a little bit unfortunate, but I think with a lot of the roster changes happening, we're to be dealing with a lot of new teams trying to get synergy and trying to learn how to work together too. So I think SK Telecom, if they kept their roster, would pretty much just smash people.
So there's a lot of rumors that a number of these Korean players actually are going to NA, not necessarily just straight to China, because obviously there's a lot of NA spots to be filled, and there's these different teams. Like there's this Tau team that supposedly have people. There's other ones that potentially might be able to get some. In general, we haven't seen that many Koreans go to Western teams that have actually worked out that well. There have been the odd weird ones, like the Huni one where it went super well, and obviously Lost Boy worked very well. In general, though, a lot of them have been a bit underwhelming. Do you think actually that has that kind of ship sailed of the idea that if you just get really good Koreans, it'll work out?
Because you can't get 5 Koreans, yes. I think that if you were able to put together a completely Korean team, that it might be a different story. But we'll see how NRG does, obviously, with GBM and Impact. I mean, Impulse did okay. I think it's gone okay. It just hasn't gone great.
What do you think, DoA? Like, because obviously culturally, that's one of the things that people probably didn't realize at first is how vastly different. I mean, I'll give you an example, okay, for people who don't realize. So, having taken lots of long-haul flights to all different places around the world for esports, I've noticed that no matter what airline you get on, if your flight destination is Seoul, there is always one of the food meals is just a Korean option.
Yep.
Whereas that actually does not work like that in other countries. It doesn't work the same way. The reason it has to work like that is because Koreans are so picky about their food that some of them just like hate to eat any food that isn't Korean. So this might sound weird to other people from other countries, but they're very particular about certain things in their culture, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I can totally see why if you just got imported to an American team and they didn't understand that aspect, your life's going to be hell.
Yeah,
you know?
but as far as living outside of Korea, Los Angeles has the highest Korean population of any non-Korean city. So
it doesn't really
actually
make it
is.
though.
it doesn't make it Korea, but the access there is way higher than in most other places.
I mean, I think that is important, but at the same time, I mean, these guys aren't going to Koreatown like every day to eat at those restaurants and stuff. They might go to, pick up some ramen noodles or something like that and bring it back to the team house. But it's still like a very, very different atmosphere. And I feel like it's working less well in League of Legends because of the team cohesion that needs to happen. The language barrier is part of it, but also the cultural thing. Whereas in like StarCraft, you can bring a Korean player over and he can like do his own thing and keep to himself and like practice and all that. And that obviously goes fine in most cases. But then like if they have to play on a team together, I think it's just usually way too much friction, either via language or culture, or there's a lot of young people in Korea obviously want to travel and see the world and all that. But then once they get out there, I know from talking to a lot of them, they're like, oh, this isn't Korea. I miss Korea right away. And I've made a mistake. And then obviously things go badly. So I think a team has to be very, very careful if they're going to bring in a Korean player to make sure that it's the type of person whose personality can survive in like a very different cultural environment, because I feel like it's hard to find players that have that, from Korea.
Do you think we will ever get that scenario I described, Monte? Well, I've always said that one of the things I thought people should at least look into is potentially getting like a Korean coach and putting him on a Western team and seeing, what that would change. I mean, now we've seen there's people who are Korean coaches obviously have been bought by Chinese teams. That's happened in a number of cases.
It happened in North America too with Impulse.
With Impulse? Who was their coach?
Fly from Jin Air.
Oh, right. Oh, sure, yeah.
I mean, I think the coach would be, prone to the same issues the players would be, right? He's still a guy who's like out of Korea and having to kind of make it in a very, very different cultural situation. So you have to be, and I mean, it goes both ways too, right? I mean, we have foreign casters, we have like American, European, whatever casters that come to Korea, and some of them can handle it, some of them love it, and some of them immediately hate it and regret it and can never fit in and never feel comfortable. So it goes both ways,
Do you think that Monte's become Koreanized in any particular sense? Did they get to him anywhere, Monte? Yeah, DoA, did they get to his personality in anywhere?
I don't think so.
Did they soften him? Did they rub off some of those harsh edges?
I mean, maybe in business meetings in Korea, a little bit so. But I think anyone who comes here and has to function and do business in Korea has to learn to temper things a little bit when you go into some of these meetings, because you can't be as like big and frank and stuff like that as you are in and I can only compare it to America, but you have to be very, very careful about how you conduct yourself non-verbally, especially, and verbally in Korean meetings, because there's such a social hierarchy within the meeting, and then there's also what's acceptable. Things are meant to stay more low-key until the moment they're not, and then things just will explode. But it's very different. It's very different. So you have to be ready to acclimate yourself.
Now that all the VODs, in theory, of all the casts you've done are available for free, there's no paywall whatsoever, people can go back on the Twitch. Admittedly, it's going to be rock hard to find them on the Twitch channel, because unfortunately, in 2015, Twitch doesn't support playlists to this day. But, okay, shots fired at Twitch there. So, but in theory, people could go back, and many people who didn't pay to subscribe could watch old games. So if we tried to think back over the years, we're going to pick out in different categories a game for someone to watch, okay? So if we wanted to pick out a really good game to watch, and it can't just be Game 5 of SK Telecom, KT, but like pick, what would be that probably wouldn't actually be the one you'd pick from that series.
No, that would not be.
Probably like Game 3 or something.
Game 3, yeah.
What would be a really good game in history that you two cast? What would you pick out, DoA? What would be a good one to go back and watch if someone hadn't watched any of the previous seasons before season 5?
I think if you're looking for just
like a high-level match.
Well, I mean, then obviously the SKT-KT finals is the primary example. But I think if you want to see something that's historically a very interesting game, I'd go back and watch Faker's first game, because this guy like truly lived up to all the hype and kind of exceeded it. And so just kind of going back and seeing the beginning of what became this like incredible career and this incredible run in esports would be really cool. I kind of want to do it myself now. But yeah,
that's the same season too. Their game for against MVP Blue, where he played LeBlanc, and that was like the best
Season
LeBlanc
3,
game.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
season 3.
Well, the funny thing is, Monty, if you remember, that was versus Easyhoon.
Yep, it was. Of course,
People forget that.
And Hart and Acorn.
Yeah. No, the thing is that actually, here's the thing: some of these other ones, people might not care about the history, but that even to this day, if you go back and watch that game, that holds up because he just goes absolutely fucking ham on LeBlanc and wrecks everyone all over the map in every point. It's like it's just a ridiculous body game, basically. It's sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was like Faker gets a kill or two, and then suddenly like he's everywhere and no one can stop him. And that was back in the great era where like LeBlancs would come in and just evaporate supports immediately.
Yeah, that's what people forget.
Kill it.
LeBlanc is still super sick, even in Season 5. It was even more OP. That it's one of those champions where all they did is nerf it, and it's still pretty good now. Like, it used to silence you on, like, everything back there. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, back with, like, DFG and LeBlanc's old power, yeah, you just, like, see people come over the wall, and especially for some reason, Zyra seemed to be, like, the target of most LeBlancs. I don't know why that stands out, but you just see this LeBlanc come in, and the Zyra would just immediately die. Like, there's no chunking of the life bar. It just goes like that, and it's all solid red, and then it's gone. It was quite the era.
What, is there another game we can think of, Monty, like a high-level game from the past? The first 2 or 3 seasons of OGN that you cast?
That I especially enjoyed.
People would like if they went back and watched.
The Frost Blaze game where Captain Jack on like Blood Boil Caitlyn came back from 3 hits down was pretty great from the semifinals back in season 3.
Yeah, that was winter.
Yeah, it was winter season. We have to talk about like game 4 of the Arrows Blue finals from summer. That was a great game.
Very exciting. And obviously Blue could have won this.
Yeah. The Blue Ozone game where Deft got killed like 4 times in lane and then managed to come back and win the game. There are also DoA games like the one where he completely dominated. It was a playoff game where he played Twisted Fate and killed the entire enemy team during the laning phase.
Frost, I think.
Yeah, that was really good. The Blaze Shield game 5, the blind pick between Goong and Ambition with the LeBlanc, that game was really good.
There were some KT Arrows games where Arrow, or maybe this was before, I don't know, some of the early Arrow Draven games where he'd be like 1v3ing people. I can't remember a specific one, but there was some pretty insane stuff with him on that champion way back. And obviously, like, there was, what was it? There, I can't remember who they were playing, but there's one Mad Life Blitzcrank game that really stands out where he was just like hooking everybody. Every time, it seemed like every time the cooldown was up, he was pulling someone in. But I can't remember who they were playing.
Yeah, there were some Mad Life Blitzcrank games where, I mean, the problem is to watch them live, you almost can't appreciate it. You had to watch like the slow-mo, because I remember there was some where he was just like blind grabbing people over walls where like you hadn't even seen anyone run around there. It's like, some of those were almost like he was cheating, you know? It's like he had a wall hack or something through the fog of war. Some of those were ridiculous. Okay, what about just a really fun game, like a funny game or just a mad game with it's just frenetic and chaotic? What do you think, DoA?
Oh, geez, well, Team Dark certainly gave us a pretty memorable one with the Cloud Templar tribute game. There was also the Annie Brand bot lane trolling that happened between a couple teams here and there.
That also shows you how different the culture is in Korea. Everyone in the West would be like, haha, that's such a great tribute. In Korea, like, you are banned. Please do not ever come back again.
Yeah.
Okay, calm down, guys. What was the one you were saying there, Monty?
Oh, I was saying the Annie Brand bot lane games that KT and Frost like would troll each other with.
Yeah.
That was pretty amusing.
See, the sad thing is, because you've brought up Blitzcrank, it's just reminded me of one of the saddest moments ever. So I think it was in spring 2014, that series where Frost played. I don't even remember who they played now. Let me think who they could have played. Must have been, so it wouldn't have been Blue. I think it must have been against, who could it be? Oh, I think it was actually against, this is the same series I'm thinking of. It was against Blue, actually. And I remember when they were like completely down and out. Wait a second, have I lagged? Oh, Am I back again?
Yeah. You want to take a break real quick?
I mean, I was pretty much going to be done right now.
All right, let's get done right now then.
So I'm just going to continue. I'm not going to edit that. So, yeah, the point I was going to make, though, was I remember, I think it was in spring 2014 where they were playing against Blue, and obviously they were super overmatched. I remember, I think this is the one where there was a match where once it all just went to shit, they had Madlife pick Blitzcrank, and they just did nothing and didn't get like a single game. And I was like, this is like the death of all my dreams right now. Why am I having to watch this? It was like, it was soul crushing.
You feel bad.
It was soul crushing.
Felt bad.
That was like some feels bad man shit before that might have even existed. I don't know. I don't keep track of memes though. I just live my life, you know.
It was a dark moment for bloodthirsty supports.
Okay, I've got a last mini game we can play before this ends. This has become like an episode of Mario Party at this point. So here's what we do, DoA. So I always make the joke from season 4 onwards about the fact that we always live in the darkest timeline because things just get worse and worse. And I always make jokes, you know, like if you went back in time and told Madlife, you know, in like winter of 2012, like, oh, by the way, you play with space for the majority of the kid, you'd be like, no, because obviously like, that'd be terrible. So like likewise, you know, like Flame, if you tell me like in season 3, you know, oh, Flame ends up in China as a sub and never gets in the game, like, what the fuck's this? So let's imagine we have to try and use our prescience, Monty, and predict something that in a year from now will happen that would be horrible. The funniest ones is usually when it's like a really bad player will just be some god at that point in time. Like, for example, Someday was just some average Renekton player fucker who did like nothing in their championship win, but then next year was like a hard carry MVP of the whole league.
He actually was quite good on Maokai in the finals that he played with the Arrows.
He wasn't as good as he is now, though. He wasn't in that range.
No.
That's true.
Okay, likewise, let's pick one. Let's go first of all with the funny one. It has to be someone who sucks now or is average and will become a god next year. Who should we pick?
Who's going to be a god next year? Well, it depends on who actually sticks around on some of these teams because everything is so up in the air right now.
Okay.
If it's only a year, you know, I think Pilot is going to be really good in a year.
Pilot. Interesting. Let me look. I've got one, but I need to like look up the name. Who's the secret, the support player for Spenu?
Sawson is also probably going to be really good in a year. The mid laner.
Honestly, Sawson, Nuclear, and Secret. I could see all three of those guys.
All those three are going to be good, I think. I agree.
Yeah. But not Catch. No, not Catch.
Well, no. Their new jungler Flaw is super good.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one for you. What if in a year from now, Ambition is a really good jungler? Oh, see what he did there with the fade away? That's right. There we go. That one's a slow burner, guys. Think about that one for a little bit. So, okay, let's go the other way then. It has to be, this is the sad part, Monty. It has to be someone who's a really good player now. And in 1 year, he either won't even be playing, like he can't even get onto a team, he gets kicked off a team, or he's just a dumpster piece of trash. So who are we going to pick to drop off a cliff and die?
Duke.
Why would you do that? Why? Why can't he be good? He's a sick player, right?
I just don't know what's going to happen to Duke. That's the thing, is where is he going to go? Just as a player to save almost, or he'll
okay,
go to
it just lagged
team.
a second. So basically, I think you were talking about Duke, and it was something along the lines of, what was the first part of it before the LSPL bit?
Oh, just like I think he's not very communicative with the rest of his team in game, in comms. So I think he could easily go the way of Save and go to just an LSPL team or something like that, and then wither away.
Do you have one, DoA? Who was gonna, just in our hypothetical, who can go
I predict that sad? Coco will go to an NA team, but he'll end up going to an NA Challenger team that will then win the Challenger League and get an LCS spot, which will then be bought out and leave Coco teamless because he'll be discarded, and then we will never hear from him again.
See, here's the funny thing. I was actually going to pick Coco as well, but I had a different reason. I was going to say if Coco went to China, because I think going to China is super risky. If you go to China and let's say you go to a team that doesn't have a Korean jungler, I think that that's a recipe for a world of hurt right there. So yeah, that could go really badly. So
yeah, that's also possible. That's more likely, maybe a little bit.
I mean, what? Because yours had like 7 steps to it. Like yours had like someone who doesn't yet own a team, buying a team out, and deciding he doesn't want any players.
I learned from Breaking Bad, no half measures.
Okay. Well, then much like the end of this episode, let's hope that Monte doesn't turn halfway to one side and his actual head's been cut in half. Brilliant graphics, by the way, and a wonderful end to a season. Not really. It was terrible. That's when I pieced out. So anyway, that's pretty much the end of the episode. It's gone on for long enough. Do you have any final parting words for everyone who watched?
No. Well, I mean, I guess it's been really fun casting champions for the last 3 years, and there's been a lot of good memories, and ideally there will be more memories that will be made later with champions. So we'll all cross our fingers.
Any final words, Monte?
Nope.
Maybe just if you really like LCK, I mean, we have to just call it that at this point in time. If you really like LCK, just maybe support the original casters and, maybe send the message that you'd like to see them continue on in the future without unnecessary interference from whoever that might be. I didn't even say who. It might be OGN for all I know, Let's just go crazy with that one. So thanks to Alpha Draft for paying me anyway. Also, it'll also actually suck on some insight if Monte isn't a caster anymore, because then his stock will be going down. It'll be that point, you know that thing, DoA, where they say that like crossover point. So, for example, when you're like an 18-year-old boy, there's some super hot actress, but eventually you're going to hit a point where you'll actually be hotter than she is. Like she'll have just crossed that point over, and it'll get really awkward, because then even if you could sleep with her or just have a long-term relationship with her, I don't know what you do with them, it would get awkward. Okay, so likewise,
I think about that every day.
Eventually, Monte isn't going to be a caster anymore. And eventually I will actually surpass him in like popularity and fame, and that'll be a really awkward moment. But because I'm just such a loyal guy inside, I'll still stick with him. Don't worry, I'll still give him a place to work.
Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it. You and me both.
Optimistic.
Okay.
I'm very optimistic. It's not like I'm going to stop being a caster.
That's my dark timeline, Monte. In a year from now, you are trash and I'm the king. Okay, so there we go. That's my.
When
dark
we see
timeline.
you on the street, we'll like buy you McDonald's. We'll give you a couple dollars.
Yep. Alpha Draft will keep you in McGriddles, Monte, your favorite American dish.
I'm just gonna do what all retiring League of Legends casters do and go to Counter-Strike. So I'll see you there.
Okay. Okay, I'll see you there.
Good luck.
That's the end. Goodbye.